Lemon, lime, soda skies, lucky like a four-leaf clover. Strawberry, slice of life, singing with a sip of nectar. Sweet like honey on a summer day, I'll stick with you through the wind and the rain. Sweet like honey on a summer night, like a busy bee, take a flight. 2, 1, go! Sweet like honey, sweet like a summer day, sweet like honey, sweet like a summer day, sweet like honey, sweet like honey, honey, sweet like honey, sweet like a summer day, sweet like honey, sweet
Right beside you, show you just who I am. You know I would. The memories we made fade. I realize we'll never be the same. Why can't you see my view? I too, why? What's fake? What's true? You go on and grow past by all that I've known, and I'm left here all alone. Recycle thoughts that keep racing in my head till there's nowhere left to go. Waiting for you.
Yo, I am here. We're doing the thing. Doing the damn thing. How you guys doing? How's chat? Let me pop on over. Good morning, beautiful people, afternoon, evening, whatever time it is for you personally. That is valid. I don't know. Oh, in a mood again today. Not a bad mood, just a mood. No, I gotta take a sip of coffee because I deserve it. Except that's hot as hell. Gonna add more kind of trying to wean myself off of sugar, not because it's bad for me, just because I want to get more used to drinking black coffee, or at least blacker coffee, darker coffee, though I guess that doesn't have to do with sugar. That has to do with, well, the coffee. Oh, but I'm... No, I can turn that down a bit more. But, I don't know. Like, I want to be here. I want to be doing stream. I want to enjoy the Limbus with you guys, but also just like... I leaned way here with my head. It'd be fine. Yeah. Want to be here, want to do the things, but also just like as I get in, feeling a bit tired. Kinda, what if we just did reaction streams? What if we, yeah, I don't know what content I would watch with y'all. Let's be honest. Like, it's a nice idea. Oh, I need to pop out chat. Pull that back there. I'm just gonna cruise my YouTube for a moment, decide if that's something that I want to share with y'all right now. There's a No I Did a Thing video. Two new, actually. Even Pyro's video. I mean, there's fun stuff. It's just... My energy is weird today. Y'all ever get that where like you're here and you want to be here, but also okay, that's what I thought. Not all dogs have bones, but they deserve them. The thing is that I actually kind of want to watch these videos. Like, here, I'll show you guys my YouTube feed. I'm not shy. Like, if I go in here, and this is going to get Twitch a little annoyed with what I say the thing is. I'm interested in these videos. I want to watch them. You know what? I can react. Let's change the stream title. Just chatting. Don't care about my tags. They can just stay because I'm sick of changing them. But, hey look, it's Limbus Company. Say bye, Limbus Company. Whoop. All right. All right, let's start out. 20 minutes ago was way too soon. I'm not stealing his view. Though y'all should definitely be watching anything that I watch. I strongly recommend people to watch muted in the background with me. I will post links as I click things. I feel sad for the entire Annie situation. Like, I think everybody involved is doing the best they can with it. Let's start with right here. Gonna keep my Spotify on, but turn it even like proper near inaudible.
Serious, sir. Steam is coming out with the Steam Machine. It's a PC, but you can plug and play it onto your TV.
Unlike every other PC.
Like a console. What do you mean console? Steam has my games on it. Yeah. Get Xbox on the line right now. What do you want? Did you know about this? Know about what? I'm on the other line arguing with TikTok and Instagram Reels. Steam's coming out with a console. Console? I thought it was just a PC. You plug it into the TV.
I'm just gonna say right now, I want that shot effect. I like that a lot better. It's pitched down.
You start playing games. Damn, these niggas made a console. Well, I knew they were cooking up something. Why do you think I gave up? You could have warned me about this. They can play some of my games on that thing. How do you think I feel? They can play all my games on that thing. This is a catastrophe. Who are you telling? I'm a Microsoft console. Now you can run Microsoft on another console. This is a PC as well. So you can mod it, right? It's gonna play games at 4K, 60 FPS with FSR. It's gotta be like $2,000, right? Brokies can't afford that. Steam keeps taking my ideas. I'm about to release.
I mean, to be fair, they are releasing it at PC prices, so usually consoles taking a loss. I'm not sure I actually believe, but they do sell the consoles much closer to price than you would get the hardware normally.
It's the Xbox ROG Ally XXX apostrophe X Charles X Xavier, and no one's gonna get it now. They're gonna be the only console that doesn't require payment just to use online services. Damn, why didn't we think about that? We did! And then we started charging them. Oh yeah, I don't think they really enjoyed that. By the way, you talked with Nintendo yet? I'm about to call them right now. Okay, tell them I said hi. What? No, I'm not doing that. Why aren't you panicking? I told you, I already gave up. I already knew about this. Listen, my games are everywhere now. I'm out of the console war. I'm free.
It's true. Xbox
I'm looking at
is
beautiful
very
skies, luscious trees. Sega says hi, by the way. Nigga, screw both of y'all. Put Nintendo on the line now. I'm gonna have a heart attack. God of War? Horizon? On a different console? You're on speaker, what do you want? Hey man, did you know about this? Know about what? Steam has a console. I thought that thing was just a PC. You plug it into the TV, you start playing. Look, did you know about this or not? Yeah, I heard something about something coming out at some point, but why do I care? It's a cube-shaped console with an extensive library of games that resonates in the hearts of all gamers.
GameCube.
They stole my whole flow. Bar for bar, you gotta sue them or something, right? You gonna do that, right? I'm gonna sue them because the device is shaped like a cube? Do I look like the type of company that would sue somebody over a minute and petty grievance? I'll have my lawyers work something in the morning. Good, because this thing comes out, we're all doomed. This is a Japanese company, brother. I don't speak French. Plus, my games aren't even on Steam. I don't care. It's also a PC. So, a PC that can operate Windows. So, which then can be used to emulate video games. Wait, are you telling me this thing can play Breath of the Wild? Not legally, but yes.
I mean, biggest issue with emulators always is that you gotta find one, and newer consoles don't get emulated as much, although I will say that some of that depends on how high-tech the game is, and, well, Nintendo games don't tend to be that crazy. I should have just opened a bunch of tabs. I'm going to lose all my good stuff. Da-da-da-da. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-boom. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-boom. Ew. Why? Who did this? Man, I knew that I was in for it as soon as I clicked video without tabbing in the rest of the videos that looked interesting to me. The nugs. Krelly is swarmed by my personal army. Interesting. Did I miss this? I think I missed that Technology Connections videos. I built the steam machine. Wow, get sued, idiot. How close are we to solid state batteries? I don't know, I don't care. Right. That's a thumbnail of all time. It's fine, it's fine. Good old $3,000 prototype Steam Deck. Damn. Oh yeah, Trump said that we should kill a bunch of senators. That sounds very Trumpian. Vettel Cerber. Could just watch the panic. What? Okay, that one's the latch. Okay, what the fuck, YouTube? Don't show me the same videos twice as I'm scrolling. God damn, dude. Why would I... I built an elevator with a $1 motor. Gonna take ages. Curious. I'm willing to touch it. Feel like Mythbusters might be very litigious. Might get copyright struck on it, but you know. Willing to play that game. Video game optimization used to be borderline black magic. True. Gonna be real. I miss old school video game optimization. Now they just say, get a better PC, smile. Let's see. No, they're making chemistry kits. That's kind of cool. Chocolate. What? Good old Rule 34 -dle. Could always try that. Yeah, I encountered this recently. Cheap, light, but strong construction. Laser Razor. Ooh, I'm not sure about that one. Steam keeps winning. That's gotta be clickbait. You sure you're not lesbians? Uh-huh. Ba-da-ba-da-bum-bum-bum-bum-bum-ba-dum. Let's see. Anyway, you hitting same videos that you already showed me again? Pretty drunk, I imagine. I built a gold farm in a speedrun tournament. Okay. Color me interested. And I'm good now. I feel like there was a video that I had wanted to see, but I lost. I'm going to scroll to the top and see if it reminds me. New Steam system. I mean, yeah, but... we already reviewed it, unless there's... And every time I see that, I pop my pussy bone. Crazy thumbnail. I bought Shark Tank tools. Ew. Why would he do that? Oh, ZFG. There's a couple of those that I lost. Specifically, I want this, and... I mean, it's only a 7-hour stream, right? I'll just back pocket this. What do we have?
Now that the Steam frame has been announced and we got the lowdown on everything this headset has to offer in terms of modularity, it's clear that this is the people's headset, and it's made very clear you can do basically what you want with it. It may have been a disappointment for some with specs lower than expected, but the possibility of modding may just compensate for that, and then some. From custom boot screen swappable components to full-on hardware add-ons that will almost certainly explode. Today we're going to go over mods that could turn the Steam frame from a Quest 3.5 into the Frankenstein headset of our dreams. So let's start with probably the most obvious, and in my opinion the most satisfying. That's the boot screen and the home screens. If any of you have a Steam Deck, then you'll know you can load custom boot screens.
I mean,
and some of them are hilarious.
I do appreciate it, but I don't care.
Take that and move it over to VR, you could have some epic intros like the Ready Player Imagine. Give it a few weeks after launch and I can guarantee you'll see these kind of limited to a few handmade from Meta, unless of course you go the SideQuest route. Valve makes this significantly
SideQuest is actually pretty
and you can change this even in the current Steam VR build, let alone the frames. You can easily pick and download, say, PS2 Harry Potter Slytherin Core Imagine to contribute.
Okay,
the
I
next
don't care
one we'll
about
talk
all
about
of
is
this
software,
stuff at all.
and that's emulate any retro game. When I say retro, I mean anything below Xbox 360, and this is mostly due to it being a weird architecture and hard to emulate even on a PC. I used to sit for hours playing Medieval on my deck, and to play these titles in VR will be even more nostalgic. But
That's
another
fair.
app you probably all know of and could be playable inside the frame with some updates is Emu VR. Well,
Just gonna say it. I need to pull out my VR headset, but Five Nights at Freddy's in VR would be crazy.
I imagine this app would need to be ported to run outside of a PC environment this is absolutely the platform for it. Emulating your 90s bedroom playing different titles is pure magic. And if EmuVR does get ported to Linux, then you can modify your headset to boot VR emulators from the beginning. Or if any devs are technical enough, use EmuVR emulation as the home environment, which would be insane. But one of the complaints, and definitely a justified complaint, is the lack of more premium hardware within the frame. The performance will be and should be better than the Quest 3, especially if they've managed to crack
Performance will be better than Quest 3. I mean,
foveated rendering, but depending on who you speak to, it's a shame they went with a monochrome pass-through. Although I'm hoping this is because they managed to get the price down to something that fits within mass consumer range, but there could actually be a solution to this lack of premium hardware. And that's the PCIe port at the bottom of the frame. You could go completely wild with this. Think extra sensors for base station trackers, a proper full color
that I think is possibly the coolest piece with it, the PCV
pass-through mods. Think extra PCIe port at the bottom. Solution to this lack of premium hardware, and that's the PCIe port.
PCIe port. That's not a port name that I'm very familiar with, but the fact that they've made it moddable from the jump is kind of disgusting in the best way.
At the bottom of the frame, you could go completely wild with this. Think extra sensors for base station trackers, a proper full color pass-through module, an infrared module if you want to be like the Predator, a face tracking bar, an upgraded compute block, or even some sort of external mini GPU. But another thing that port could be useful for is something the VR scene has been seriously lacking in, and that's more compatible VR accessories like treadmill and haptic gloves. You could buy a catwalk now and have compatibility with a standalone Quest.
That'd be
it's
crazy.
Not an ideal or optimal solution. Haptic gloves also aren't really compatible with standalone hardware, but the frame could change that, especially with that PCIe port acting as, say, some sort of receiver. And if, and that's a big if, this is heavily adopted, we could see an explosion in third-party accessories like haptic gloves.
Ooh.
Just while I'm on the topic, the other day I got shown one of the
Violin
coolest
simulator?
VR
That's
treadmills
crazy.
I've seen so far, and that's called the ODT1 by Accelerate. And it uses these tiny, surprisingly quiet ball bearings to act as the floor, so you can actually walk, not slide around like the other VR locomotion solutions. I feel like the Steam frame could be the perfect pairing with something like this. Low latency, realistic walking, and finally a step closer.
I mean, expensive,
to more
but
and speaking of more
I do
immersion,
think treadmills are
we
a
could
cool
be getting closer
thing
to
that
more
people do.
native VR injectors. UEVR has been groundbreaking for playing non-VR games inside VR, and there is also a boatload of mods that do the same thing. A while back I played Left 4 Dead in VR, with a mod I'll leave in the description because it's insane. With the flexibility of the frame software, it's certainly possible that we'll get mods that allow VR versions of 2D games, or at the least 2.5D, where your head is placed in the world, sort of like Moss. I can also imagine we'll see a boost in VR ports if the headset gets a good level of adoption. But the last, and probably the biggest use case...
I don't care about a VR port of 2D games. I'm just happy to, like... I think that it's the best environment we have right now to just wear your screen on your face that we've seen. That's an interesting concept. I might have a very busy weekend. I think that I might be pulling out my Quest 2 and seeing... I've been playing with the idea of using a micro PC instead of a laptop as my travel PC. And if I can... it's really hard to read text on the Quest. It just doesn't have the right rendering. I'll see if it's possible, how possible it is to read Twitch on the Quest. To be fair, though, even if I do that, it doesn't feel comfortable for super long play sessions because it's too front heavy. kind of almost need the extended battery pack, and then you're putting a lot of weight on your, cervical discs, your spine. So, don't know about that plan as my go-to screen, not with the Quest anyway.
And honestly, the best thing about Valve is they made it abundantly clear that this is your headset. You can do what you want with it. It's the same story with the Steam Deck or any Valve product. When the Quest originally launched, I wanted to start my own business running custom experiences in, say, a shopping centre. But the Quest is incredibly restrictive. You can't change anything unless you want to invest in a business headset, and even then you still can't change anything. But that's where Valve is different. You can boot an entirely different OS if you want to, and this will pave the way for custom headsets. You could have a Cinema OS
I think that this is
only
going to
films
be
for private cinema
the
experiences,
new number
or
one
Arcade OS
headset,
for VR
very
arcades,
likely.
or even load Windows onto the thing. This headset can be stripped of its software to run smoother, or be converted into a dev-only device optimized for VR development. That's the advantage with Valve. The possibilities are endless. If you want to overclock or underclock, you can do all of that. I'd love to know ideas that you all have for the future
Underclocking, now
of
that's
Steam Frame,
interesting.
so let me know down in the comments section below.
You've probably heard from all
Okay, I
sorts
wanna-
of people that electric
Pause on that.
And how long should I have it for? Until the end of Sabathon. No! No, I don't want it until the end of Sabathon. That's gonna be so long. A month. Oh,
This is
okay,
old.
you can have it longer. Oh!
Staz
Until
from
the end?
5 months ago.
Oh, what was last year's? It was. I don't want to talk about it. Most liked reply is my profile picture for how long? What? A whole year! No. Till the end date. Posting on Twitter is begging for a lot of weird stuff to appear. Oh, I guess there could be some weird replies. I don't think anyone will see it that's not me, no one, really. Oh my gosh, a week. Okay, 2 weeks. 2 weeks sounds good. Now, if you want to submit one that could be my profile picture, you have to comment it on Twitter.
Yeah.
I refreshed the page, and what do I see? I'll show you. I'll show you what I saw as soon as I refreshed. It's so big!
Adorable and
What the heck is that? Metal
Why is it? Oh,
Why?
ugh,
He
Veto.
just sent me. He just put a hecking selfie. I can't
We're
take
just
a picture
immediately
again.
deciding that's a
This is a
selfie
bald
is
guy.
great.
Please, no, I don't want that to be my picture. Please! Oh! Thanks.
All right, that's
Well,
enough. Okay.
I always switch off the lights because it just seems pretty intuitive to me that you turn off the lights, you're gonna save energy and save your light bulb.
For incandescence, 100%.
Other members of my household, yeah, they have much more important things to think about.
to answer this important question once and for all, the team are halfway through their experiment.
There's
They found out how much energy 6 types of light bulb use when they're on, and now they need to see how this compares to the
the real
energy
question
surge
is
that
for
happens on
how
start.
long?
And
like,
for this
how
test,
long
Grant
is it off?
unveils gadget number 2.
This is an inductive current loop, and what you do is pass your wire through here, and as the current flows through here, it actually induces a voltage. This line is going to go to a computer-based digital sampling oscilloscope. So in that millisecond range, that really quick turn-on, I'll be able to capture that and measure exactly how much current is going through that wire.
With Grant's electrical
There's
mastermind
easier
firing
ways
all
to do
cylinders,
that.
Carrie once again turns apprentice.
But
Soon you'll be
okay.
able to do this blindfolded. Open your mind to your feelings. Feel the wire.
I have no idea what that's from.
Yeah.
When the test finally gets underway, it doesn't take long for a pattern to start to emerge.
So the interesting thing, after a couple different trials, we've caught there's always a big spike on startup as the
Right.
filament warms up, which is to be expected, but it's not very long, and actually it gets to steady state very quickly. But I think we're probably gonna have to hold our judgment until we see some of the other ones.
So it's coming to light that the energy
Man,
surge used on
fluorescence.
startup is
That
not
was
very good
a
at all.
flash
And that
in
means
the
that only a few calculations stand between Grant and a bright conclusion of the lights on or off myth.
So, crunch the numbers, and here's what I got for the incandescent. Total power used during startup is 21,522 watt seconds. Total power for 1 second is 59,519 watt seconds. And that makes our break-even time 0.36 seconds.
Okay, so from that, I guess that means I'm leaving the room to go make a cup of coffee. It's only worth it for me, economically, to keep the light on if I come back in a third of a second.
Yeah, that's pretty quick. That'd be a really quick brew coffee.
Okay,
so in this
turn off
instance, I'm turning the
incandescence
lights off on the
immediately.
Yes.
A quick brew indeed.
Expect
For the
it.
incandescent bulb, the startup surge is so small that you will always save money if you turn it off when it's not needed.
For regular once again, frickin' Styropyro has a like 10,000 watt light bulb. Then again, leaving that running for any period of time, man, I don't know.
Stand by for the next.
Grant keeps plugging away and soon has the results for the other 5 bulbs, and they all conform to this pattern.
Okay, I got the compact fluorescent figures. 0.015 seconds. Faster than you can blink your eye. Halogen, 0.51 seconds.
Okay, fluorescent tube.
23.3 seconds.
So the common fluorescent tube draws more energy on startup than any of the other bulbs, but it's still only equivalent to 23 seconds of continuous use.
As far as a residential situation goes, that is the most likely one for you to have still.
We haven't
23
touched
seconds.
LEDs
I
yet.
don't think so.
So far, this myth is looking really easily busted to me. I mean, I don't think...
Yeah, but I think that's only half the story. I think our fans are probably
Lifetime of the bulb.
Is to see whether...
Well, it's not just
I don't
lamps.
care,
You
I
turn
don't
them all
care.
On.
So that bulbs break.
I guess they just didn't have LED at the
6
time.
weeks later, the results are in.
Bulb that is not burnt out is the LED.
So how does this test compare to, say, the average stress and usage that you put on a light
Bulbs, and they all conform to this pattern.
Okay, I got the compact fluorescent figures.
Okay, fluorescent...
Startup, then it...
As a residential 6 seconds. I don't think so.
So far, this myth is looking really easily busted to me. I mean,
Still, 23 seconds. Station goes. That is
this myth is looking...
You only play
gravity of the bulb.
in a final test. Specimen bulb.
Turning your lights on and off more regularly means that you spend your...
Into whether it's better to leave the lights on or turn them off. It's also longevity of the lamps. So what I've set up
Wouldn't matter
is
for
a
LED at all,
and off
so-
at
Grant's rigged the lights up to a timer.
on-off cycle for over a month now, and
stress and usage that you put on a light bulb in a normal household.
Right, because I mean these lights have been turned on and off over 10,000 times in a month.
yeah, actually, that corresponds to over 5 years worth of stress turning it on and off in a regular household.
And given that when you turn on an incandescent light bulb, it uses the same amount of power as 0.36 seconds of continuous use and doesn't really take that much wear and tear, Jamie might be right. You're supposed to flip off the lights when you leave the room.
Yeah, I have a feeling this one's busted.
Yeah, I think
Obviously.
it's definitely busted.
Jamie's always right.
Okay, but like I didn't hear anything about the LEDs.
Why is
Or-
everybody saying that the Oblivion remaster isn't well optimized?
I mean, it's an obvious result, but man, that was a sad episode. Hi, Minx. Welcome in. We're just watching some videos. Did I get... All right, did all of it. Let's see. I also just need a fresh YouTube tab. Maybe we'll do that after something. Okay. Just my thoughts before even watching this video. The fact that, like, to make things run on an N64, let alone, like, Super Nintendo, regular Nintendo, all of the other stuff, you need to be so efficient. Like, that was half of the developers' jobs. Just making the game that you wanted be able to run on the console available. And early PCs weren't that different. Early PCs, like, we didn't have dedicated graphics cards. We didn't have even just, like, the graphics cards around were so minimal. RAM was low. So you had to optimize. Now, if the game runs poorly, like, you lower your settings, and if it still runs poorly, you say, hey, buy a new computer, scrub. You're a mod mink, so you actually can link that if you want.
Probably just console peasants jealous that they'll never have the power that my glorious PC has. Old video game graphics, and particularly old 3D video game graphics, have fascinated me for a really long time because they consistently lie to your face and look great while doing
can
it.
try to
While
look
it's
for
certainly
it.
convenient having the power of ray tracing at our disposal, which undeniably looks shadow-tastical, I think there's definitely been a drop in picture-perfect strategy when it comes to the visual of modern video games, since we have the power now to load so many assets into one area. I mean, seriously, how are game developers supposed to cram an open 3D environment on a console that only had 128 kilobytes of RAM and 64 kilobytes of video
RAM.
memory? Oh, I hope Nvidia didn't hear that. The Super Nintendo was the first Nintendo console to feature 3D games, but the console couldn't actually handle 3D. The SNES had 7 graphics modes, and most of the console's 3D games utilized Mode 7. Mode 7 allowed a background layer to be scaled and rotated in a way that emulated true real-time 3D. Using this graphics technique, developers could put 2D sprites over the seemingly 3D environment to simulate a believable virtual landscape. In Super Mario Kart, Nintendo's sprite artists drew so many different angles of the characters so that they appeared natural while turning, or if they were being seen from an unconventional
where it's not
perspective.
actually
so even
3D
though the
at
new
all.
3D graphics thing was cool, it
all
was
2D
incredibly time-consuming. So Miyamoto, Mario
graphics.
Kart, Nintendo said, "Gentlemen, the SNES can't run 3D, and it is costing us time that we could spend making actual 3D games. What we need is a new video game cartridge that is more powerful than our console's built-in processor." Star Fox was the first game to utilize the Super Effects chip, or as it was known by its codename, Mario. Mathematical, agronaut, rotation, and input-output. The Super Effects chip shot Nintendo right back into the innovation playing field because it allowed the SNES to load multiple 3D assets at one time while still utilizing the console's built-in 2D functions. Star Fox on the SNES is instantly recognizable because of the visual enhancements of the Super Effects chip. Enemies, buildings, allies, you, and certain props are all true 3D models, while the background and effects are two-dimensional. The background rotates and corrects itself based on where you are positioned, and to sell the innovation of true 3D even more,
old school like
sound to change volume depending on how close you are to a sound source.
Man.
Using the official
On Super
SNES,
Nintendo.
I can show you guys how Nintendo and Agronaut utilize the
What
SNES's
is this, like
layering system to create an
19
authentic 3D environment. As we can see, they use the traditional Mode 7 graphics technique to render the two-dimensional
early
background. That, as I stated
like
earlier,
95
adjusts itself to the
game?
player's position. Another layer was used for the HUD, and last but definitely not least, the Super Effects chip's 3D models and effects are resigned in its own layer as well. When I first learned about Star Fox's very interesting development, my first thought was, is this the same Nintendo that I know? But to clear the air, it is in fact the same Nintendo we all know and love, because the innovative 3D technology stuff was done by Agronaut, while Nintendo was responsible for the plot and general design of Star Fox. So moral of the story, Nintendo will never change.
本当に剣と盾を持っているという意味、右手を振れば、so if you just shake your right.
But speaking of Nintendo, I think now's the perfect time to talk about their 3D-oriented console, the Nintendo 64, and specifically the most graphically demanding game on it, Skyrim. Perfect Dark was a first-person shooter developed by Rare and one of the 28 M for mature 17+ games released on the system. It's also one of those games that was so ahead of its time, it resulted in half the employees leaving the studio after development because of burnout, and in kind of a f***ed-up way, just screams good media. It's common for video games at the end of a console's lifespan to stretch the capabilities of what the system can handle, and Perfect Dark is an excellent example of that. The first level takes place on the top few stories of a skyscraper in the middle of a dystopian city. Throughout the level, the inaccessible exterior remains loaded in, so you can still see the skyscrapers from really far away. The N64 is only able to handle this because the skyscrapers are textures placed perpendicular to each other, so from where the player is allowed to explore, they appear as full-fledged buildings. Unlike its spiritual predecessor, GoldenEye 007, the game features a more advanced lighting system that adjusts where certain areas lighten up and go dark depending on what's happening.
Like these
if a
look.
gun is being fired, or if there's a light.
This definitely looks
Perfect
like
Dark
old
also handled exterior
gaming, but
rendering
when
in a
you look at like
optimized way by allowing
when you look at some of the stuff that they're like, oh yeah, we're going to showcase what playing Cyberpunk on the new Steam PC, the Steam machine, looks like. You're like, why do we have all of these extra graphics when you have to run on low settings and it ends up looking like this anyway? Surely we can optimize the video game a bit better.
On Windows,
I don't need to be able to see every blade of grass, honestly.
Was a couple feet away. If the player goes too far, the windows become dark and turn into a texture that moves depending on where the player sets the camera. Interestingly enough, physically moving doesn't affect the texture, only the camera does. While it looks like a big black dump because I'm playing at 1440p at the intended 480i resolution, the effect still looks like dog shit, I can't even lie. The reason that this game was able to accomplish so much on the Nintendo 64 was because it pretty much required the expansion pack for the console, which added an extra 4 megabytes of RAM to the console's base.
But already, like, they're
like
trying
I said
to
before, though, on a scale of Valve to Rockstar, Perfect.
They're trying to over-optimize it and use more power to make the things work rather than black magic, rather than using the tricks to make things happen.
Ark's development was definitely more rockstar, so a lot of content ended up getting cut from the final product. The multiplayer mode, which surprisingly enough still holds up well today, originally had a feature where you could take a picture of someone's face with the Game Boy camera and upload it to the game to slap on the models of the multiplayer characters. After Rare realized they would have absolutely no control over who somebody decided to use as a face to shoot at, they cut it out and still to this day believe it was the right decision.
Probably.
I don't think it was the right decision. But that doesn't mean it wasn't still impressive by 2000 game standards. Windows could be smashed, couches could be moved, people would dynamically speak with the player. In the last year of development, the studio acquired tech for motion capture, which was used for a variety of the animation. And in some cases, the limitations of the N64
motion capture being used for
the game
animation.
visually. For example, the reflections in the game are just copies of the same room upside down under a transparent texture, but it's
That's
so
been
sharp
used forever.
and natural looking
It's
that
brilliant.
you could say it looks better than a lot of screen space reflections we see in video games today. That said, kind of unfair to compare the two since modern games are reflecting a whole lot more than a couch and a couple walls, but still, when you think of old video games in terms of optimization, your mind probably immediately goes to Silent Hill 1. Everybody knows that Team Silent used fog to cover up the distances that the PlayStation 1 couldn't load. And even today, some games use fog to hide pop-in. But some games did so much in terms of post-effects that it not only covered up hardware limitations.
Honestly, the freaking way that God, what's the name of the game? Colossus? Way of the Colossus? Shadow of the Colossus. That's the one. Looks so freaking good on PlayStation 2 graphics.
But actually made the game look better. Shadow of the Colossus was one of the last PlayStation 2 oriented games to come out before the 7th gen takeover.
It does not deserve to look this good.
Of the Colossus stands
Honestly,
as the most rage-inducing
kind of what I was saying previously. Like, in some ways, Shadow of Colossus looks as good or better than modern PC games on low graphics.
Since Roach from The Witcher 3.
Right? Like, obviously...
Colossus,
obviously, you can't compete with high graphics settings, but most of us don't have a 6090 graphics card, so you know.
Tasked to navigate a variety of dramatically open areas in hopes of hunting down...
That's kind of like what they say about the Steam machine, Steam PC, which I don't completely buy because they basically pulled or did something, took user data of most of the people playing Steam games and said, our Steam PC is, on every metric, as good or better than 50% of players, right? And with foveated streaming stuff, with certain, upscaling, they want to be able to play at 60 FPS on 1440, right? Which is fair, valid. The problem, to me, isn't the strength of the PC per se. It's that you're trying to cram it into a micro PC, which means that you're probably, even though it is budget aligned, there's going to be something to be said about... Exactly. Well, I mean, they can be. I think that game development has been pushed so low on the... you get so little time to develop games. The staff is, frankly, stressed for time, underpaid, underutilized, and then on top of that, optimization, console optimization, etc., which PCs are a console of sorts. The optimization for whatever you're playing on has gotten so far down. Even Minecraft, like, I will say for Minecraft, which, is not exceptionally a heavy running game, but one of the issues that it's run into in later patches is that the base code is poorly optimized for multi-core. So basically, up until I think 121, they finally fixed it. But up until very recently, all of the heavy work was being ran on one core. So even with really beefy PCs, it could be very hard to run without lag. But Minecraft, honestly, if they weren't on an update schedule ran by Microsoft of doing a new patch every couple of months for Minecraft, I feel like there's no reason that Minecraft shouldn't be able to be ran on an N64. Yeah, you shouldn't be able to render out to, like, you know, thousands of blocks and you're going to have to run the textures low, but like fundamentally Minecraft is an N64 game. And the fact that sometimes it chugs on modern PCs is a travesty. I was just saying it earlier, like, even beyond, like, if you told me that this was a freaking Breath of the Wild screenshot, I'd be like, oh yeah, like, on kind of lower settings, something, but like, you could tell me that this is a Breath of the Wild screenshot and I'd buy it. If you told me this was a Pokemon game, I'd be like, oh damn, when did Pokemon buff their graphics? This is running on a PlayStation 2. Like, the old game optimization, and this is one thing that I actually dislike about the onlineification of games. Back when AAA titles had to be on the disc and there wasn't a chance to patch it, so they had to give complete works. Some Switch games cannot run properly on Switch hardware. True. Yeah, I was talking about the new Steam PC, which I have to say, like, the Steam VR headset looks fantastic, and I like that it's a PC VR experience first and standalone second, as opposed to the Quest standalone first, PC VR second. It's a subtle difference, but I think that that's how... It's what we should aim to. It's why all of the meta headsets feel chonky and heavy and overpriced, whereas the Steam VR looks like it's going to have better equipment on a budget and be much more comfortable wearing, right? But I look at the Steam PC and they say that it's going to be as good or better than what 50% of people are running. And they're going to be selling it at a very fair price for PCs. At the end of the day, I look at it and I'm like, why are we trying to cram modern PC hardware into a GameCube? There's a reason that towers have stuck around as the main form factor for mid to high-end PCs, and a lot of that is it's just cheaper to make components work in more space, but also airflow. If anybody's getting this Steam machine, to get a cooling mat for it, or at least put it on some stilts, put a grill under it, something, because, and I do see ads coming, I've been watching that. I just wanted to rant, but we do have ads coming in 1 minute. If you don't like ads like Mad Jockers, something that rhymes with, or anything else, I don't care about the ads. It just stops us from having to run ads for people entering in pre-roll ads. I don't like pre-roll ads. Good for raids and stuff, but doesn't bother me. However you want to get around them, whether that's a sub or literally anything else, doesn't affect me. Interested to see how people mod that thing. The Steam VR, because the fact that it comes with, I think I already shut it, but the extra port that they've just included as standard to be able to mod it, And that, and also it's a Linux distro, making it big for once. I do think that the Steam Machine, I hate pre-rolls, especially with connection issues and reloading streams. Yeah, exactly. It's why I run 3-minute ad breaks at the top of the hour, but nobody likes ad breaks. If I didn't lose so much other good stuff for you guys, I would consider going back to affiliate, or giving my affiliate pass back, I mean. Anyway, but yeah, mostly I worry about the cooling. It has a single fan. It doesn't have a lot of airspace. It sucks air from underneath of it mostly and pumps it out the back. Make sure that it has plenty of ventilation. But it could be cool. I've considered, except that I need it more quickly than right now. I've considered I need a new laptop. If it was out right now, I would consider getting the Steam Machine in lieu of a laptop, because I can find a screen and keyboard just about anywhere. And then carry the mouse that I like and a micro PC. Will it hold up? Jury's out. I think that something that is going to really make or break it is its dedicated Linux OS, which is optimized to run Steam, and in particular optimized to run the Steam VR, because everyone knows, like, Windows 11 for some reason demands that you have, like, people are getting fairly cutting edge PCs and Windows saying, oh, you can't upgrade to 11, sweetie. You don't have good enough hardware to run the operating system. I'm just going to put it out there. Operating systems should run, like, even modern operating systems. If you can't run it on a 30-year-old computer, like, you need to optimize your operating system a little bit better. That's crazy nonsense. And them optimizing it for the gaming environment, getting rid of bloatware, getting rid of Cortana and all of these things that are passively sucking up all of your resources that you never use and don't care about. That might be the saving grace for it. Honestly, just being optimized for their native OS and yeah, those things. Not being Windows, basically. But yeah, old school graphics.
All of the Colossus.
Magic.
Because Shadow of the Colossus is a lot of landscape, the developer...
That hair texture is more like, yeah, okay, this grass texture is basic, but once again, I don't need usually to see
the cinematicness of each area and distract the player from the PlayStation 2 fucking dying trying to run it. The developers incorporated a built-in HDR tech.
Personally, Microsoft investing into AI to the point 1/3 of the evidence being written by it is bleak. Anyone else kind of annoyed? Like, we knew that there's an AI bubble that is like threatening to pop any minute now, that like everything is going to blow up and just sink horrendously because of AI crashing, like the market not being able to sustain the indefinite amount of money that's being poured into it with no returns. And so the latest thing, not just being Google AI, which I actually think Google's AI overview, weirdly to say, has gotten kind of better. Like, it's not, I'd rather it didn't exist, but then again, Google already sucks. Like, you still have to already kind of know what you're looking for as a source when you search something on Google these days, which is trash. But the automated translation for ads You guys probably don't, people outside of the, or rather in the US, Canada, whatever, probably see it less. But like if you set your language settings on YouTube to something that's not English or not whatever country you're in, then we will get auto-translated ads. And some of them, like AI automatically translating narration sounds fine. AI automatically translating people talking to each other sounds so trash. Like, I think that it's a waste of money to run ads if you're going to have the AI dubbing over people trying to act out a cute scene. Because you just lose all of the charm. But, and yes, I agree 100%. Studio making Spider-Verse movies, proper use of AI. Did more, used more AI than any film before them. Also, had more artists involved. Put just more budget to the animation than films before them. I think that one of the best things that AI art could do is filling in between keyframes, right? If I can do animation keyframes and have the AI fill my intermediate frames for me, that'd be fantastic. I like anybody who uses frickin' Photoshop is using AI to predict, like, try to figure stuff out, right? AI to help people learn something, sure. AI to help reduce monotonous tasks, to take care of things which are low skill but necessary, being used by people who have above that, and not, by the way, replacing people so that, like, one of the bubbles that we're going to see, we haven't seen the effects of it yet, but we're going to see in 20 years, all of these people, positions that are entry-level jobs, right? If I'm doing entry-level freaking data input, right? Just very basic, I'm just spreadsheet nonsense. Entry-level job. Entry-level graphical engineering. Entry-level animation, right? And I'm being given these small tasks doing kind of not very important things as I learn the trade, right? Particularly any trade that has actual apprenticeships as part of their thing, not unpaid interns, fuck all of that nonsense. But it makes sense to have those jobs because then 20 years from now, you pull on those talents to be your head animators, right? But right now, all of the entry-level stuff in particular, companies are finding it's easier to just send AI at it, but the AI can't do the upper-level stuff, and they're betting on, I guess, that by the time they reach a crisis of not having anybody that's been trained to do the high-end stuff, that AI is going to have upgraded and kept up with it somehow. And maybe that's a good bet, but I don't like those odds. Not with the current AI. Yeah, make a silly analogy, please. And also, I'll just say right now, and this is something, just generally Rory being anti-capitalist. I don't like that we have a society of firing workers because we can do it cheaper with AI. And then like one person does the job of 20 people, but paid the wages of one person and barely even that. When I hear about how much more efficient AI and everything can make business, what I want that to mean is that I get paid a 40K salary, 60K salary, whatever you consider like a 100K salary, working 4 hours a week rather than 40 hours a week, right? If AI can actually make us 10 times more efficient, I want that to mean that everybody can get paid a living wage with 1/10 of the hours that they put in, right? And turns out that 40-hour weeks weren't pre-industrial revolution. Most people didn't work 40 hours most of the year. You had a couple of crunch times during like harvest season, and then most of the rest of the year you kind of did your couple of tasks and went home. We dreamt of Navis like 20 years ago, but ended up getting Bloody Torment Nexus. Unfortunately, I don't get either reference. Call me uncultured. But yeah, our motivations are out of step. Also, if I didn't specifically say hi, Dom, I might have, but I've been talking a lot and my ADHD go burr. Yeah, I think that our vision of the world is misaligned with our vision of how we run, well, companies in particular, right? We are setting ourselves up for dramatic failure. And everybody can see this, but then you say, hey, let's do something to actually like take steps to correct it, and people lose their mind. Like, no, we can't tell companies that they can't focus on short-term profit. It's their right to make as much quarter by quarter profit as they can. Or freaking, man, corporate vision of budget cutting to fortune. And I think that's worth noting that it's short-term fortune, right? You get your quarterly returns up, and then you pass the company on to somebody else. You bail, you pass off your obligation, you take your money, and you go home. The investors, the people, stock stakeholders, all of those guys, they get their money off of it, and the company eventually goes under, but we don't care because everybody, quote unquote, important has made their fortune. And we just get the inshitification of the market, right? Of what's happening. I'm going to turn on a light. 1 sec. That's one thing that I kind of like related to the video that we're watching touches on. I feel like early video game development, even though game devs... Hey, Cole. Greetings. Even though game devs have always been in a perpetual time crunch, right? And that's been a problem for them, and they've been undervalued in some various things. I feel like even within major corporate media environments, devs treated video games and movies for that matter, and, well, movies in particular, God, as art pieces. And I think that this was a big argument 10, 15, 20 years ago about whether or not video games are art. I think that saying that video games are anything except art. Yo, Zell, Minecraft Daily Emeralds. That is something for my Minecraft server. If you'd like, I can refund you your 10 points. But I run a community server, and people can exchange. Basically, the server has its own gacha system, and people get Deep Slate Emerald ore for channel points, and they can use it to put it into the Minecraft gacha. Spread them around, first come, first serve. Yeah, you got it. When on Monday, when I do Minecraft Monday, I will give 5 emeralds spread around someone needy. Honestly, I need it most. It's true, I don't. I give myself 15 gacha emeralds per week because I figure that you can get 10 with 1,000 points and you can get 5 with the daily. And so if you only come for the Minecraft streams, you can get 15. You can always have 15 emeralds without any other, if you don't spend any other points throughout the week, right? And so I give myself that 15 because I think that that's a very fair amount to give myself. But it does mean that, like, particularly with people who redeem Minecraft emeralds daily, people can get a lot more emeralds than I do. But that's fine. The one thing that I hate is anytime somebody runs a gacha server and they get, or, you know, not just a gacha server, a Minecraft server, I should say. Really any kind of server where they are admin and they use those admin powers, but they don't let anyone else. So they effectively have creative mode and everyone else has to deal with just vanilla gameplay. I will say, like, here, we're staying in just chatting. Just chatting's always been a catch-all category, but I'm going to boot up Minecraft real quick. I will show off server. I have this giant tree, which was a subathon goal from my last subathon, which was over a year ago now. Normally I do a yearly subathon, but I missed a year basically. But where I built a giant tree, and it was going to serve as the server hub for this season, and it's still not very done. And I'll admit openly to using, I will openly admit that I use creative to when I'm working on it a bit, or if, and for that matter, I'll also pass out creative if anyone wants to help working on it. But I've never really considered it my base or anything. I've considered it something that I am putting energy into for the community, right? It's a community project that I am putting my time into. I don't feel bad cheating to make it get done. Well, to make it get done, because the fact that I'm turning an entire area into a desert, I am doing old school. Let's see, do I have a tree compass on hand? Yeah, I do. It's a vanilla server in the sense that you don't need any mods to play on it, but I have put in a couple of data packs. The one that I'm proudest of is that if you're holding a lodestone compass and eat chorus fruit, it will teleport you to that lodestone. I like that a lot. I think that it's the most fair way to have a global teleportation network that I've seen. Oh, right, but this is what I was going to show. I need to... Okay, we're going to go into creative just to show off. Because I need creative fly. This is the tree that I, as you can see, still in works. but I built during a subathon as much of it as I could over the course of several months. I don't feel bad using creative for it, particularly since, as I said, I use it as the community hub, not as like my personal base anything, right? In fact, it's kind of a chore that I occasionally, when I have time and just nothing to do, I will be like, yep, time to take my vegetables and work on the tree a bit. It is supposed to be being a community mod hub that like people are welcome to build tree houses in it. Take up, the branches are hollow, so take up a branch to put your stuff in, do things, and then I'll also show off the gotcha. Mind if I use those emeralds for myself? As said, I tend to be a little bit low on emeralds. All right, we come up here. Pick some on. Everyone, but you had a couple were playing legit. Everyone else either cheating or gifted stuff. Blech. Okay, so a couple of custom villagers. One guy to let you trade diamonds for the ore. And these guys are basically just block vendors for diamonds. And somebody pointed out, like, man, these are greedy villagers asking diamonds for blocks. Part of the biggest reason why I have all of these block vendors is trying to get a server that's really stable means that, like, I don't want everybody to be building big farms and stuff. So I try to give a way to get building blocks and a way to get equipment. That's also the reason for the gotcha. That does not require everybody to have a village, everybody to have, you know, various block farms, all the stuff. Also, this is the one big thing that I've done. I got rid of librarian book trades. That is one change that I made to the server that I think that librarian book trades make equipment lose value because it's just too easy to have perfect librarians that get you perfect equipment just right away. And then to make up for that, within the gotcha, you can get a bunch of good enchanted gear, and you can also get mending books through the gotcha, since otherwise you can only find mending through, like, treasure chests, right? As said, I'm going to just trust that I can take those 5 emeralds for myself. I'll probably donate any diamonds I get from this. But you can put in deep state emeralds. Technically, you could find deep state emeralds anywhere. You could go digging in mountains for them, or dig for diamonds and then trade with Pymizant over there for the gotcha stuff. Don't need channel points. Oh good, we got a little bit lucky with it. 4 emeralds, and this is what I mean, like, this is a quote-unquote uncommon item. About 1 in 10 to get something on this level. The rare or UR items, 1 in 100, are, well, 1 in 81 technically. Because if I go in, technically you can see this through the leaves just a little bit, but this is just all a big redstone machine that controls the gotcha. I've done slight things to make it not easy to steal from, but mostly just trust that people on the server are good people, you know. As said, I will... Actually, I'm going to go the... other way. We're going to put this sword in a free stuff. Actually, people looking right now can see the secret hideout. Can you arm armor stands? If I... No. Unfortunate. Is there a chest in here? A barrel, maybe? No? Should add one. Oh, well. But yeah. That's the server. That's the tree. I feel like it's okay to have, you know what? Do I have enough wood to, yeah. Let's make a chest and first of all, I need to get rid of all of whoever's been leaving. Just let's make a chest. Let's make a sign. Oh, free to someone who needs it. Perfect. Let's... We will put the sword, and you know what? We'll actually... There. Diamonds and sword that from your donation in free to someone who needs it. Chest. And I will trust that people are responsible about that. Anyway. But yeah, I feel okay using creative to make the gacha machine, because I couldn't possibly keep that running through my own survival work. I feel fine using creative to make the community hub, right? But if it's not a community project, if it's anything for my stuff, it would feel bad. Also, hi Minx, I see that you got in. I'm about to leave. I just wanted... Whenever I talk Minecraft for a second, I like showing off the server because I actually am really proud of my server. By the way, I will just say this to anybody in. It is a community server. Anybody is welcome to join, but free little library. It's a free little inventory. Right. It's not me abusing creative for my own benefits. Minx was here. Cute. But yeah, what I was saying, it is an open server, quote unquote. It has a whitelist. It's a community server. But we've had some people, mostly last season when we were doing it, we had a lot of people who we let in too early, who seemed to pass vibe check, or they like saw that we were doing Minecraft and said, hey, can I join? And that was all that we vetted them, like 10 minutes of watching them, and then they turned out to abuse the server in small ways, not big ways, but like take all of the iron out of a community iron farm, or they would that happened one time to make an iron boundary that they used with iron blocks just one time. And then that particular person also got very dumb, being like, hey, guess what age I am? How old do you think I am? How old do you think I am? Implying that they're too young, which I was like, ooh, cool. Grounds to ban without having to point out specific negative behavior, and otherwise just being some immature people or people who griefed a bit, and like I try very hard to keep it being a chill server, so I've gotten much stricter about the vetting process. I welcome other streamers into it quite freely, but viewers, I need to have more interaction with, get a more robust vibe check, right? Because sometimes people, I don't know, you gotta be more cautious with it if you want to make the kind of community that you want. Just not giving it a go. Yeah, if it wasn't a really tightly controlled server that I ran, I would definitely, like, me and Minx are the only people who frequently play. Cole would like to play if they had Java edition. A couple of streamers are on semi-frequently, but it's also kind of like, I find it really goofy when people attack streamers for having an iron fist, whatever, of content moderation, right? Because they say, like, oh man, this streamer is just such a tyrant with their community, whatever, and they, don't allow dissent and whatever. It's like, as a streamer, to cultivate the environment that you want to have for your community, you do need to be more strict than I think that people recognize, right? Like, it is a acquired skill to learn to actively weed out people who are harmful to the vibe of your chat, let alone a server or something, right? And maybe that makes me jaded, but at this point, like, I'll give you some rope to hang yourself with if you're just in chat, though I've gotten a little bit more hard ass on that too. But if you're in the server or somewhere where you are a more direct representation of my community, you don't get a lot of warnings before I'm going to be like, okay, you need to stop that. But yeah, if you ran into so much drama, and that's the other one that, like, it's nice that it's a small server, but drama will always be there. And at the end of the day, this is something else that I think that people don't give enough respect for as the unitary power of my own channel, whatever, that running any server that I'm hosting, whatever, I cannot let it be democratic or whatever, because at the end of the day, everybody in the server, everybody in the Twitch chat for that matter, reflects on me, right? It is a direct association with me and with my channel, with the space that I am making. And so I need to be it's okay. I'm okay listening to constructive criticism or even some non-constructive criticism. I think that one's ability to listen to criticism is good. But at the end of the day, I'm going to make my decisions based on my personal feelings about stuff, my vibes, my maintaining the correct atmosphere is ultimately my sole responsibility. And so I'm going to actually bear that authority as seriously as I can to make it a good space. And that means sometimes you're going to be harsher than some people appreciate, but it's not worth the risk to see things devolve into drama. And on same note, like if drama does come up, I'm kind of on the hook to be the mediator, which I don't love, but I'll do it. I'll be like, hey, drama's happening. I know that drama's happening with you, and like, I'll mediate. And if I can't mediate, we'll figure out where the biggest problem is and figure that out. But like, sometimes, honestly, I think that if the drama gets to a certain point, it is the responsible decision for streamers to do an unfair ban of one party, where they did not break any rules, they did not do anything, they just had a drama war with another person on stream, and streamer had to choose, do I ban both of you? Do I give you guys both a 3-month timeout and see who comes back? Do I just get really hard ass on giving people 1 week bans if they pull up the drama? Like, and then sometimes it comes to the point where you say, hey, you are the person who is continuing the drama more. You are the person who is, unfair or not, less valuable to the community, more, less connected or less in line, like sometimes honestly just less liked by me if we're being really honest. And you might need to kick out somebody just because you're like, I'm sorry, we can't be doing this. And it sucks, but like, it is not a... It is a public space, but it is a public space which ultimately is ran by, is ultimately reflected on a single person, and that single person holds all of the responsibility for what happens with it. And in that way, that single person needs to be willing to be a bit of a hard ass sometimes for the health of the entirety, right? I wish that I could elect a council to take care of all this shit for me, honestly. And I guess I could. I could elect a moderator team. I'm not big enough to touch on that. And I still, like, that starts to get to being, you know, corporate VTubers, right? If I'm a corporate VTuber, if I am in HoloLive, then the talent does not directly control who gets banned or who is invited into things or whatever. And if there's drama, the talent can voice their issues, but is not the final decider. And I think that's a good thing in a way, although the corporate of it all has some question marks to be raised. But that's if you're a corporate VTuber, which there's pros and cons to that, right? Corporate's not even the right word. That's a company, a VTuber, agency VTuber.
Technique that simulated life.
But yeah, anyway, that was a fuck-long sidetrack based on Minecraft. Zell, when did you... Oh. Heh. I'm like, oh, it's Zell. Sorry, I noticed the star by your name. And I'm like, huh? What? And I glanced at account. I'm like, oh, right. You've been hanging out with me for Limbus content and such, or perhaps Library of Ruina. And I don't know if the sub was something that you did or if you got gifted one or something. But I just saw the subscriber badge suddenly. I'm like, huh? What? There's a certain... Obviously, I didn't get a... Oh, actually, wait. First time chat was today. Interesting. Oh, rated you during MD15. Right. God. I really do apologize for my goldfish memory. But yeah, no, I just had that momentary confusion. I'm like, huh? But your first time chat was today and sub? Huh? Question. Happens to everyone. There is something to be said also that you start to, even for like, it's amazing for people who have like millions of chatters running in and stuff that you see, people recognize faces that have been around for a while, right? Like, you know your chat. And so for a minute, you get some weirdness sometimes on like new faces, and sometimes you'll see someone who you've seen in one context and you recognize them in that context, but then in a different context, you become face blind. Name blind. But then you interact with people long enough and it's like, oh yeah, I know this person. I do think it's easier with small communities for obvious reasons. Although with big communities, you get more and more lurkers, right? Let's get back to PlayStation 2 game up.
Light in a way that it would appear as if a camera was picking up on it. In dark enclosed spaces, the outside areas shine so bright that you can't see the spaces that aren't.
Honestly, that's sneaky.
And when riding aggro, the brightness shifts from very light to very dark depending on where you go on the map. Shadow of the Colossus's art direction makes the game screenshot material.
Hiding textures in dim light or bright light through like fog of like the camera lighting is so clever. There's no reason why we need crisp views of something that's even 30 feet away. And it's kind of weird how much processing we put into that. That's one thing I think is super cool with newer VR rigs, foveated rendering.
At all times. Most areas consist of an impressive amount of space, with large rock faces decorating the horizon. While it may seem like loading extreme distances like this would be impossible on the PlayStation 2, you'd be completely right. There are multiple different loading stages that the distant areas go through depending on how far the player is from them. At the farthest distance, the game renders them in 2D, similar to how most out-of-bounds areas were done on the Nintendo 64. And notice how the developers used fog and lighting to obscure the distance, making the two-dimensional formation less identifiable as true 2D. If the player ventures closer to the cliff faces, they shift to a low poly model, and then of course a more detailed one when up close. The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker
such a
is
clever
technique
that needs to be done again more often.
The islands that the players can see in the distance are extremely low poly, but they're tinted a dark blue that contrasts nicely over the bright ocean. What's interesting is the islands on the horizon can only be rendered so far away. Most of them sit the exact same distance away from Link, because the engine can only load so much space at a time. When on an island, the ocean surrounding it is usually this peaceful blue instead of the distorted wavy texture that's seen far out in the ocean, because one, it looks more natural, and two, it saves performance because it allows more detail to be focused on the island Link's on and not the big empty ocean surrounding it. I'd argue the only thing holding Wind Waker back from a modern perspective is the fact that its old-ass code hardlocks it to 30 frames per second. Otherwise, a lot of the graphical...
I'm always amazed by how smooth 30 FPS actually feels. Like, not for a shooter or something, but for most gameplay, it's amazing how much you can just stop noticing that it's 30 FPS. Even like 20, 25 often. I really do think there was a video essay I saw a while ago. Wind Waker was just kind of... It came out at the wrong time. It looked goofy at a time when people wanted a grittier Link. It felt like the GameCubification of Nintendo titles. It just like... The vibe was off. It was overambitious. It had these things. It has stood up as a title because it's actually a great game with great fight mechanics. It has so much going for it. It just was released at the exact wrong time. I remember looking at Wind Waker when it came out and being like, what is this nonsense? This is so bad. Why would I ever?
Tricks that's present in the game would go right over the player's head just because it's consistent.
I'm sad that I don't own the GameCube disc of it.
Rendered very sparingly across the landscape, but the player wouldn't even notice because the gloomy design of the game makes the lack of
Shadow of
darkness
Colossus
and shadows
looks
in the scenery
incredible.
believable. Shadows were instead focused almost entirely on the player, aggro, and the colossi. The game had separate shadow map models that the developers would use to accurately texture where a shadow would appear on each important model, and because of the amount of detail they spared just so it could be used on the main character, Shadow of the Colossus is one of the few PS...
Honestly, like, just once again, getting into details, this human character, right? Just the model for a person.
Almost entirely
gonna get back to where we can see
aggro, and the colossi. The game had separate shadow map models that the scenery believable. Shadows were instead focused almost entirely on the player, aggro.
We're gonna have to do frames back for that. The extreme close-up of this face isn't doing any favors, but honestly, even like a lot of Cyberpunk stuff, pretty deep-end things, making a really close-up view of faces not look a little bit uncanny is something that even modern animation in games can struggle with. This is fine. This is passable. I would not take note of it, particularly since you don't normally see the faces that much, right? It doesn't look hyper-realistic. It doesn't look like the very high emotion, wrinkle-rich faces that you see in, once again, Cyberpunk as an example. But if you're not looking for it, it's fine. It doesn't look over-polygoned like Ocarina of Time faces. And honestly, OOT did fine with faces. They just had a lot of, you could see the polygons really easily.
Aggro and the colossi. The game had separate shadow map models that the developers would use to accurately texture where a shadow would appear on each important model, and because of the amount of detail they
But like, this all, the way that the human model looks, like this level of detail, I would be perfectly happy with in most modern games.
Just so it could be used on the main character,
It's
Shadow of the Colossus is one of the
more
few
than
PS2
enough.
games to use real-time shadows on player characters. Some of you guys may be thinking, Justin, you are an idiot, go back to Pizza Hut and get off YouTube. What are you talking about players won't notice the 2D rock faces in the distance? Are you blind? The resolution and frame rate that I'm playing the game at on this video was not the resolution or frame rate standard at the time. The normal PlayStation 2 Classic version of the game plays at 480p, and at that resolution, the graphics appear way more realistic. You wouldn't even notice the flaws in the environment. That's why all of those realistic indie games have this body cam filter over it, because the distortion makes it look more real. But to be honest, 99% of you probably already knew that. What I really want to talk about is the fur in Shadow of the Colossus and how the developers made it look so...
I do think that's one thing also that's worth noting, like the low pixel rate, like there's something weird about the desire to be playing at 1440 that like you don't need it for the most part. I have, if I is there an easy way that I can do this? There's not an easy way for me to do it, but I am actually using, I play most of my video games, like if I pull up Minecraft here, this is 720. And how I know it's 720 is because I have chat and stuff sharing my screen with it. And I have, if I minimize all of the windows, can you see it? No, I've cleverly blocked off all of the stuff. I have a gray border that's just at the edges here of the screen, just out of sight, which I resize. I make sure that all of my windows are lined up neatly with it and resize windows where they need to be with it. In order to have it fit my screen capture nicely, right? So I can have you guys on my screen, have some space dedicated to having it, second PC running all of my stream software. But that means that I'm playing everything at 720. Most of the time, I don't notice it. It's kind of like how you can watch so many videos on your phone or like old school anime at 480, and you will never notice because it's a small screen, it's old anime, whatever, the lines are just rougher already. But when you watch a video that you've been watching at 480, even 360 on your phone and feeling like it was fine, and then you put it onto a big screen LCD TV and you look at it where it's like, actually big, and you're like, oh my God, what is this trash resolution? Having it be bigger, if you are building with the expectation of it being lower resolution, it looks better than things that want to be high res and then don't have the ability.
So good on the ancient PlayStation.
How do they
2
get
hardware.
fur looking
On
good?
the raw stripped down vertex model of the Colossi, the developers painted shadows where there would be real-time ambient occlusion in a modern video game, and the fur is colored a light greenish brown to act as a foundation for the final version. The fur on the Colossus was made in a very convenient way where it looked great but wasn't too demanding on the PS2's GPU. For the long sections of fur on a Colossus's back, for example, the developers used 4 to 8 polygon layers, but 6 was the common number depending on the boss. The layers on top were lighter, while the ones closest to the Colossus were darker. The texture of the fur is 64 by 64 pixels, and each layer uses the same texture, but just changes the brightness to give a feeling of depth. And some parts of the textures are transparent, making the strands of fur look individual. Now, to be fair, I broke this process down into very simple terms for the sake of entertainment, but basically, the fur technique in Shadow of the Colossus isn't anywhere close to individually rendered strands of hair, but
actually brilliant
because it looks amazing, but also saves performance. And fun fact, but it's a technique in Shadow down or transparent.
Looking at it like where we've gone frame by frame with it, we're playing at 5 frames per second,
but just
you can
the brightness to give
tell
a feeling of depth. And some parts of the textures are
like
transparent,
we've lost a lot of the
strands
depth.
of fur look individual. Now,
And
to
we
be
can
fair,
see how it is, but holy cow, that is such a smooth way to make good looking fur. Yeah, it did still eat up the PlayStation's stuff, but like, why aren't we doing this for grass and stuff in modern gaming? I don't need to see every blade of grass individually frickin' rendered in this way.
This process down into very simple terms for the sake of entertainment.
Or
but
leaves?
Basically, the fur technique in Shadow of the Colossus isn't anywhere close to individually rendered strands of hair, but it doesn't have to be because it looks amazing but also saves performance. And fun fact, they use the same technique on the grass too. Keep in mind,
good looking
sorry about
grass.
the hair, I just got back
I would
from a
never
walk.
be
It's
upset
kinda
with
shitty
that
outside,
grass.
it was raining. Keep in mind, this game ran on the same console that could only play Silent Hill 2 at 25 frames per second. The big lesson about today's video is that a lot of the time with video games, it's less about the console and more about the optimization of the product. Without stylization, Silent Hill 2 wasn't exactly Crysis when it came to graphics. Because of Silent Hill 2's gloomy atmosphere, Team Silent didn't have any pressure to decorate the world with a bunch of shadows, just like what we talked about with Shadow of the Colossus. The game does use real-time shadows in minimal amounts, and we can see this in the room where you get the flashlight. Using a free camera hack, we can see the other side of James that isn't hit by the light, and his model reacts appropriately to this scene. Real-time lighting is also used in the hallways, but it's very clear to see when it starts and when it cuts off. Another blatant performance saver with the real-time light is how smaller objects don't cast shadows. Where Silent Hill 2's optimization falls flat is how it renders off-screen objects. Using the free camera hack from before, we can see the objects in the fog that weren't previously visible. For some reason, the game renders them in full detail instead of loading lower res or even 2D models to save performance. Silent Hill 2's models were also pretty high quality for the time. And
Theatrics at work? True.
Light sources and shadows are visible too, even though the player can't even see them.
That's
Something
glossy.
Silent Hill 2 does well though is how much it fakes its shadows. Pretty much every stationary model in the game is painted dark around the edges where it touches another object. This is a lighting technique in video games that's as old as time, and even though it's inaccurate, I really hope developers keep using it. The Last of Us Part 1 and 2 are great examples of modern games that use excessive ambient occlusion to its advantage. The darkness around the high-quality models makes the brighter spots stand out and makes each area seem more detailed. Wind Waker from 2003 also used inaccurate lighting to its advantage, like how only one light source can affect Link at one time. Nintendo didn't even design the graphics like that because of a GameCube hardware limitation. The GameCube can handle up to 8 light sources at one time. They only did it because it made Link stand out more to the player. And in older consoles like the PlayStation 2, developers really had to choose between accuracy or what looks good. I will say that the opening scene for Silent Hill 2 is optimized pretty well. The developers made sure to tweak it so nothing unnecessary was loaded in, and that's probably because of the open space with the 2D background in the distance. Only what's necessary is loaded in, and we can test this by flipping the camera around, revealing that most of the models are only half loaded. But what if I told you that only 2 years after Shadow of the Colossus, a game would come out that threw the idea of working around real-time graphics right out the window and into a KPA soldier's face? Can it run Crysis?
We can give Wind Waker a break because it can handle running an MMO. It can handle its fair work. See Fantasy Star Online. GameCube was surprisingly... It's funny when I got GameCube, and we did get GameCube. I think that the Wii was my last actual bought console. But GameCube, I feel like we got it, and I felt like it just didn't hold up, that I didn't get enough games that I thought were really good at the time. But then looking back, I'm like, holy cow. Like, I got Mario Kart, Double Dash, and Melee, and Luigi's Mansion. All of which, by the way, have held up. And in fact, there is a number of people who will argue that all of those are like... Luigi's Mansion started a franchise which is highly beloved, and people really like the original. Lots of people will argue that Melee is the best Smash title, or one of potentially 2 in competition for best. And Double Dash holds up. Like, Double Dash is great. Wind Waker, I wish that I'd gotten. It's fantastic. Melee is not the best. Big ol' caps. Dying on This Hill. Smash Ultimate's great. I think that you can make a very strong argument that it's as good or better. But like, okay, we can all agree that Melee is much better than Smash 64, right? And I think that if anyone's dying on the hill that Brawl is better than Melee, man, I don't know about that one, champ. By the way, ads coming in another minute. If you sit through these 3 minutes, won't have any more for probably next hour. I always forget the title that's in between Brawl and Ultimate. Somebody can help me out. It's just called Smash 4. That's crazy. I feel like Smash 4 just is unremarked upon more than anything. Melee has its major issues. I really like... I haven't touched it all, but what's the fan disc, which is the spiritual successor to Melee? Basically Brawl, but with Melee mechanics. Does anybody know? But Melee is the second iteration of the Smash format. It didn't have access to online updates at the time. And it holds up. I think that arguing whether or not it or Ultimate is better is a lot about just choice. I think that Melee is less friendly to beginners and obviously has less cast. I think that the moveset is more limited and it has issues with not having a lot of highly, like, its competitive roster is too narrow. There's just not enough really good characters in it, like, competitively. But I think that it is uncontroversial to say that Melee is top 2 within the Smash format, and whether people like it or Ultimate better is going to be a lot of preference, mostly. I guess I'll also put a different way. Melee has a lot lacking in it. It has a lot lacking in it. Melee is, like, you could talk Smash 4 or Brawl as better party games, potentially. I think that Melee has some single player that I wish they'd bring back, like individualized target stages, which I don't know why more later editions in the series didn't have individualized target sections. I don't remember if Ultimate does or not. Once again, I didn't own anything later than the Wii. Adventure mode was fine. The challenge mode was fine. Like, the only real area where Melee might be the best is competitive, and that's the debate, right? But outside of competitive Melee, which one's the best Smash game? Melee might not be in the top 3. Gotta go, groceries are here. Yo, catch you later, Zell. Thanks for dropping in. But yeah, I think that Melee holds up and is a great title. Wind Waker keeps being remade because it's a fantastic title within the Zelda franchise. Mario Double Dash, I think people really enjoyed. I think that it is iconic. I like it as much or better than other Marios. I think that they went too far in both cart individual characteristics while also hiding what their what their actual mechanics were, what their stats are. And it makes a lot of the carts feel samey, a lot of the characters feel samey, and I thought that Double Dash hit the sweet spot on that. The thing that Double Dash is rough at is just not a lot of variety available, as far as, like, not as big of a cast, not as many courses. And that's reasonable when you're trying to fit things on a micro CD. Without online play. Online play, I think, makes a lot of games better. I think that there's something to be said that a lot of the GameCube titles that are multiplayer would be more remembered as how good they are if online play was possible. But the GameCube just got a really weird reputation, despite all that. But it's crazy. I wish that we were using more of these tricks on graphics. Just make the games. We don't need to render an entire city block in full 3D when the camera can't even see it for the most part.
Crisis is a saying
Hide
that we've
more.
all heard because back in 2007 when the game released, it was so advanced that the large majority of people could not run the game at a playable frame rate. Almost everything in Crisis is real time and is meant to stretch your computer's simulation capabilities to their absolute limits.
Why?
Throwing a grenade into a building will result in it caving in into itself in a way that reacts accurately to whatever
Which is
materials are
cool.
holding it up. Trees can be broken up into individual parts, you can pick up almost everything and throw it at an enemy. This game is so advanced that I thought my computer was struggling to run it because it was so ahead of its time, but actually Crisis was built for single-core CPUs, and probably what happened was while developing the game, the creators assumed single-core processors would just get more powerful, but what actually ended up happening was CPU manufacturers just kept adding cores into processors, so Crisis still only uses one core to run.
Hey,
which
the
is why no
Minecraft
matter
problem.
how good your PC is, it probably can't run Crisis, or at least not consistently well. Of course, not everything in Crisis has proper physics, because it was still a game from 2007, but because of its use of pretty much every single modern
Single
visual
core.
achievement at the time, from screen space reflections to material physics to shadow mapping on environmental and human objects, Crisis was in some ways the end of an era. It's not that developers don't incorporate graphical tricks in their games to showcase beautiful visuals without using as much power anymore, but designing visuals just isn't as tight as it used to be. A lot of iconic games are remembered for their art style, but most of the time they got that beloved art style because they were working around hardware limitations. So does this mean that new video games are facing a decline in original art direction since there's not nearly as many boundaries as there used to be? No! Shut the Plenty of AAA games with fun and original art styles come out every single year, and although there's certainly a collection of bad apples releasing junk that doesn't work on launch, those companies have been pumping out slop since 2002 anyways. I don't want this video to become another circle jerk of negativity dogging on modern gaming like the other one. Sometimes I regret posting that video to the internet because even though I did address a lot of problems with the current era of tech and graphics, there's still a ton of value and beauty in modern gaming that I didn't talk about enough to balance out the criticism. In the last few years, it's become the new thing to dislike video game graphics, because hot take, I actually prefer gameplay over graphics.
Yeah.
And so do you. And so does Cletus next door. I see the same opinion posted everywhere, as if it's this rebellious assertion of individuality, even though it's about as hot a take as saying, boy, do I love clean air, but I don't like breathing in my own carbon monoxide. So I'm gonna take this moment with you guys to appreciate how far graphics have come. Red Dead Redemption 2 always felt like a painting to me. Some people say realistic games don't have style, but Red Dead 2's exaggerated western lights beg to differ. This game is so dramatic, and I love it.
Video games are art.
Night City is the most depressing place on Earth, but probably one of the best game cities to spend 100 hours in. Only in
True.
Cyberpunk do I look at garbage and say, damn, that looks amazing. Mario Maker is a really good game. I just wanted to throw that in there while I was at it. But what do you guys think about all this? What older game do you think looked really good for its time?
I hope that they use the fact that the God, what's the new Nintendo console? I hope the Wii 2, whatever, not Wii 2, the Switch 2. I hope they use the fact that the controller can be used as a mouse to bring back dragging point and click stuff for Mario Maker, which was in Mario Maker 1, but not 2. I'm going to choose my own adventure here and pull up Super Mario Maker 3. Is this...
Almost exactly 10 years ago, Nintendo released the first Super Mario Maker, a new and very unusual IP for Nintendo. A very unusual IP. Then let's do this.
What?
To get our magical tea leaves to reveal the uncertain future of the Mario Maker franchise to us. So gentle ladies, gentlemen, and gentle people in general, are you ready? Then let's do this.
Gonna look
biggest hardware
ahead.
features of this console
okay. Yeah.
Okay, so here's how video
I love
essays
cave
usually
jamming.
work. Usually, we ask a question at the very beginning of the video, explore the question throughout the
Do I always
video,
had
and
subtitles
answer
on?
it at the
Yeah,
very end.
people
We're
like it.
not going to do this today. Instead of slowly coming to an answer, we instead start with the answer today, and then slowly figure out why I believe this answer to be the correct one. So allow me to proclaim the eternal answer to the question of whether there will ever
I don't know
be
why I
a Super
struggle
Mario
to
Maker
pin my own
3.
messages.
Yes, the answer is yes. In my humble opinion, there will almost certainly be a Super Mario Maker
It'd be
3.
crazy if they didn't. I think that one of the saddest things about Mario Maker community is that they pulled the servers in a really kind of anticlimactic way for Mario Maker 1.
At some point in
But
the
it's
future.
a clearly
You can
very
turn off the
popular
video
game.
now if you want. Thank you so
Possibly
much for watching.
the
Still sticking around?
most
Well,
successful
then allow me to explain
Switch
to you
game.
why I believe this to be the case. It's mainly because of 4 very distinct reasons. 4 specific reasons.
Like,
with
not
very
necessarily the best selling, but the most played Switch game, I think by a long margin. Mario Maker 1, Mario Maker 2.
specific names. The 4 reasons why I believe that there will be a Mario Maker 3 are the coin reason, the mice reason, the Donkey Kong Island reason, and finally, the reason 40. So let's talk about those reasons in order, and let's start with the coin.
Okay, I don't want the reasons. I want...
On the 10th of September of 2015, Super Mario Maker was released. And it took the community less than a year to upload millions of Mario Maker levels that had been played several hundred
Millions of
times.
levels is honestly
Super Mario Maker
crazy.
ended up becoming the 7th best-selling game on the Wii U and single-handedly launched a franchise that sold millions and millions.
That's what's crazy. Like, it's 7th best selling, but like, when you look at how many hours people put into it, like, outside of speedrunners who put just like thousands of hours into their respective title, most people play through a game and then maybe they play through it a second time some point. We don't usually replay games over and over, not too much. Like, that's a little bit less true for things like Minecraft or even roguelikes, where you just are kind of not playing towards anything, you're just kind of playing to play. But most titles are, you know, you play and leave. Mario Maker is one of those ones that, like, if you look at the online content of it, where people just are constantly still actively playing it, you don't see that with like people still playing older titles of other Switch games.
Millions of copies. The original Super Mario Maker
Not in the
just
same
ended
way.
up being an incredibly interesting and vastly successful experimental game that spawned a huge community around it. And then Nintendo killed the game. As of today, all the great stages that the community had created over the years
Very
are inaccessible,
unceremoniously,
and the game
too.
is practically dead. A decade after its original release, the original Super Mario Maker is pretty much no longer playable, and the game that launched this wonderful franchise is already
It's
slowly
crazy that
becoming
they can
forgotten.
just
In this video, we're going
do
to
that.
change
Like,
that for
I do understand why, you know, maintaining servers with however millions or, you know, thousands of levels is an expensive thing to do, but they just did it very quickly and unceremoniously, and I feel like the community deserved better. But as everyone knows, Nintendo hates their community, so whatever, I guess.
We're going to take a look back at the original Super Mario
The one
Maker.
thing
We're
Nintendo
going to
hates
discuss
most,
5 specific
their
aspects
consumers.
of the original game that are nowadays often overlooked, but that, at least in my humble opinion, are still very much relevant for the current franchise and especially its future. 5 aspects that made the original Super Mario Maker so great and that I hope people do not forget about the game. So gentle ladies, gentlemen, and gentle people in general, are you ready? Then let's do this.
Oh, my other...
Alrighty, right. So where do we best start our look back at the original Mario Maker? Well, what better place to start than with the very first look that the public ever got of the game. Super Mario Maker was first released over 11 years ago at E3 2014. The very first look that the public ever got of the game was just a short 1.5 minute trailer. A very short trailer that nowadays is incredibly interesting. You see, back in 2014, Mario Maker was still in
the
development.
stylus usage,
so much
right?
in development, as a matter of fact, that the trailer shows us an early
Which we
build
don't
of the
have
game.
in,
An early build of the
obviously,
game that is vastly different to the game that Nintendo would eventually
Mario
release.
Maker 2,
So first, the graphics
for obvious
obviously
reasons.
changed compared to the first showcase. Back then, the eraser tool was just a boring eraser. It didn't even have eyes. Can you imagine? The ground was only placeable in squares that could be dragged into shapes which, thankfully, didn't make it into the final game. And worst of all, oh, the blasphemy. Pipes could be changed in size by dragging them from the top and from the bottom. A true pipe disgrace. But that is not the reason why we're talking about this trailer. The reason is something different. The reason is a little element that we can see at the top left here. The mushroom in a question block. As it turns out, in early builds of the game, mushrooms in a question block were not created by dragging a mushroom onto a question block, but by placing a mushroom in a question block item from the menu. And I think that this is incredibly interesting for a very simple reason, because being able to drag a mushroom into a question block to me is the very essence of the original Super Mario Maker. Dragging a mushroom into a question block is the very essence of the franchise.
Stylus
the mere
usage.
existence of a default mushroom in a question block item to me is against the very idea of Super Mario Maker. Here's the thing, Super Mario Maker is most often referred to as a level editor, and that is obviously correct. But at least in my humble opinion, Super Mario Maker is not merely a level editor.
A premier
because
level
the level
editor.
editor is also part of the game. All the elements in it are rather simple on the surface. It's just elements like a question block or a mushroom. The thing that makes creating levels in Mario Maker so interesting is that all these elements interact with each other in
I love
surprising
cave
and
gaming.
unique ways. If we put a mushroom into a question block, we get the very element that we saw in the trailer. But if we put a mushroom onto a Goomba, we get a bigger Goomba. If we put it in a bullet bill, we get a bullet bill that shoots mushrooms. If you combine it with wings, we get a flying mushroom. If we put it into a Lakitu
Honestly,
cloud,
very
we get a
clever,
mushroom-operated Lakitu cloud. If we put a mushroom onto a spring, we get a mushroom that jumps out as soon as the game loads. And if we put a mushroom...
There's always been level editors, but making one that's so easily accessible and intuitive for casual players, and just like, we don't need to talk about the crazy mechanics that the community has learned how to build. Like, there are machines that rival all but the most crazy of Minecraft contraptions. But just on a basic level editor amount, rather than forcing people to kind of code things and do all sorts of just gimmicky things, making it a very, all the obvious stuff. And then, yeah, you need to play around with the mechanics to get special effects. And then there's glitches, which Nintendo hates glitches. Okay, hot take. I wish that outside of game crashing things, like, there's a hard lock in Mario Maker, and honestly, I'd be happy if Nintendo removed that, right? But outside of very specific things like that, or like, I'm okay with balance changes in competitive games to a point, although I think that people are a little bit heavy-handed with that too. They don't give communities enough time to develop metas and counter metas. But I'm okay with balance changes in competitive games. I don't like Nintendo seeing that there are glitches in their game or various things and being like, I'm going to delete every level that is not played the way that I imagined it, no matter how popular or, you know, various things. They need to... I think that they need to make a containment space for that kind of level. Be like, hey, your level has been noted as containing unintended glitches. Therefore, it's only going to be accessible in the glitch categories, whatever, not in 100-man challenge, right? Not in endless mode. I think that that's valid. I think that them making a containment zone for things that are glitch heavy or troll heavy. Oh, I can move that? Since when? No, don't.
Mushroom onto a ground block, then a...
But I wish that more companies were confident in the completeness of their game and then just like allow glitches to exist, particularly for single player stuff. Like, I think that one of the fun things of old titles is that speedrunners can use glitches to do crazy stuff. And I'll even argue, I heard this argument from someone else, and I think that it's perfect. The ideal game, like this is what I should be looking at as a developer, what I should be going. It should be fun on 3 levels, and that should be the casual level, the competitive serious, the gamer level, casual level, gamer level, and speedrunner level, if you will, the competitive whatever. I think that modern games try their best to be actively hostile against the competitive level, and even at the gamer level are being honestly a bit hostile towards... It's like frickin', is it Brawl that has the trip mechanic anytime that you dash in Smash Bros? Making the power ceiling on gameplay very low, giving more frames of input buffer. I think it's fine, but I think there's this delicate balance that too many games just focus all of their efforts into either gamer mode or casual mode and aren't very good as titles for both. And that's fine. I mean, it is what it is. And then once again, I think competitive level has just been completely... Most designers outside of, to a certain degree, like Hollow Knight, but even Hollow Knight, like, I don't know how they have treated like glitches. I think that when you make it accessible that like glitches exist and you don't try to police the player away from glitches, that people are encouraged even kind of like, hey, I found this cool glitch that if I do this, like, then you can... And then that gives dopamine to a certain type of player who enjoys abusing mechanics, right? And that's fun. And if so long as it's not something that can easily be stumbled on and ruin the experience for a casual player, I think that having those things exist is a benefit to the game. I think D&D has kind of always been good on this for the most part, particularly 3.5, although I don't think 3.5 is casual friendly in particular. But like, you can play casually and then you can have an optimized play, and then you break the gameplay, right? And I think that one's ability to access all of those, depending on what type of player you are, is a secret sauce to making games more successful. Mario Maker has all of the opportunity to be great in all three, but they kind of low-key hate troll levels and even to a certain degree speed runs, and they really hate glitch levels, and so they punish players for doing stuff like that, where what they need to be doing as a broad platform is just isolating it. Single player games are where I really hate it, when like, oh, I found a cool speedrunner glitch, and the second that I announce that it exists, a game patches it out of existence. And not even like version patches where you can just go back to an old version if you want to play with these glitches, but like just completely ghost patches it out of existence. I think that kind of sucks. I think that it removes a level of gameplay that some people are going to have a lot of fun with, and you're just saying, no, you will play it the way that we intended you to play it, or you will not play it at all. And it's just heavy-handed and feels bad to me. It's kind of, I've been in an ongoing rage war with a small content creator who, not the content creator himself, his community, but he saw the true any percent of Ocarina of Time. And I'll tell you what, it's the shortest category. Should just go to YouTube. Should never show that screen to you guys, but like, OT any percent. This, I don't think is... I'll know pretty quickly. Crossface. Maybe. Oh yeah, this is the one. Okay, we can watch it through. It's actually just 3 minutes. Okay, so he comes in. And because dang it, I hate when YouTube says, no, you can't change the speed of this. Does some clean movement. Doing camera manipulations, I'm sure, to avoid console lag. I'm not... Okay, so we get out of here once again. very specific ruby manipulation. We need 10, so we're gonna get the extra 5, go to the shop. Extra ruby, shame. Did we need 15? Because we need a nut also. All right, so we need a shield, a nut, and a stick, I guess. Or no, the nuts, never mind. Equips, goes over, talks to... Didn't do Midas skip, which makes me think... And again, I think that this is the route. I'm just surprised. Some very specific movement. Looks a little weird, but it is all for reasons. Enters crawl space, immediately exits crawl space. Screws with the camera a bit. That's why you do the crawl space, because it gives a specific camera flag. And there it goes. Now we're in the crawl space again. And now we basically go off screen. This all has to be done blind, which if you're not impressed by glitches, you should be impressed by, you know, any kind of blind speedrun. Gets a weird item there, and time. That's credit Swarp SRM Ocarina of Time speedrun. I thought there was a faster one, but that one does say world record, so whatever. The point being, though, I've been in a fight with people over whether or not this is impressive, because people are like, oh, you're just glitching the game and therefore you're not actually playing, not impressive. I challenge anybody who thinks that, just like, go in. It's not tricky. Recreate it. Don't try to get world record. Just try to recreate the glitches used in it. And you'll figure out, like, you have all of the advantages of being able to pull up resources on how it's done, watch other videos of it. Like, you have all the resources at your disposal on performing the glitches. You can even, like, I challenge people, even, hell, go ahead and TAS it. Do it at frame by frame, where you don't have to do it at time. Try to make it work with all the resources at hand. This is a really hard speedrun. It's not... I do think that there are speedruns that showcase your skill better. And part of that is just because people don't play this speedrun very often. It's a mostly dead category because, frankly, it's pretty boring. So while I'm still sure that this man has spent, I don't know how many thousands of hours getting to the point where they can do it like this, there are other runs that are more optimized, more pushed to their limits. That's probably wrong. Not pushed to their limits, but just like more effort has been made in getting them to that point because there's more points of failure. But to say it's not impressive is to basically say I don't value you playing the game in a way that can't be beaten by a 10-year-old, which is ridiculous. But modern Nintendo being able to patch out things would never allow this. This could not exist in a modern format. And I kind of have to ask why, because who is harmed by a glitch which you have to really put a lot of effort into making possible at all existing? No one stumbled into this glitch and went, oh, I just got a game breaking, I can win the game in 3 minutes glitch. This is a glitch that, like, people had to... After many years, someone saw some weird behavior, and they stumbled into that, and they were able to use that to make this specific speed run. But generally, even stumbling into the benign version of this glitch is just not going to happen. And I think that the online gaming ability to patch out glitches, which are only accessible to people who are looking for them, is silly. Let people enjoy games the way that they like to enjoy games. Let people play glitchy games if that's what they want, because who is it harming besides the fact that your IP is not being played in the way that you envisioned it? I think that art belongs to the viewer. You are allowed to make the art. You are allowed to, like, you have all of the resources to do as, like, you control the art until you put it into the world, and I do consider video games art. Once you put something out into the world, it's no longer yours. What it means, how people respond to it, how people interact with it is their possession, and you can voice. I think that you're allowed, as the artist, to say, I find it upsetting that people view my art this way. I find it upsetting that it's used this way. I did not intend this. You are allowed to make those statements. You're not allowed to revise your art and say, no, I think that your opinion, your use of the art is invalid. I am removing that meaning from the realm. As soon as you release it, I think that it belongs to the people who engage with it. And you are not even just doing a discredit to those people, but you are doing a discredit to your art and also just to the general artistic atmosphere by censoring your own work to only be accessed in the ways that you like it. I do think that there is something to be said for transient art. I think that Markiplier doing, what's it called? Anafuda, the Markiplier's transient YouTube show that was removed after it. I think that making transient art, at that point, the removal of it is part of the piece. That's not what Nintendo's glitch policy is. So, welcome. Thank you for the TED Talk. I'll now be answering questions. Not really. But
the mushroom can't.
Yeah, I've been in a ongoing fight with some people who saw that speedrun and are like, not impressive, not a real speedrun. Real speedruns are only when you play the game the way that 10-year-olds can do it. Vanilla's the true test of skill. Vanilla's not the true test of skill. Vanilla has skill. I'm not saying that it's not a test of skill to hone those tools to the point of breaking, but you could argue there's a test of skill to longer categories. It forces you to have more game knowledge and perform that knowledge for a longer time. If you want to say that is more impressive, I'm not going to argue with you. I don't think it's right or wrong. I think that the effort that people put into the craft, regardless of how short it is, stands on its own. But I think that's fine that you like longer categories. But you don't get to say that it's not impressive, because the fact is that I could not do that speedrun. I couldn't do a lot of the glitches that are used. Like if I tried to start entering into most categories, ironically, including glitch lists, which has a lot of tricks which are not considered by the community to be glitches, but are still not a vanilla gameplay, I couldn't do it. I don't think that using beds to beat the Ender Dragon cheapens the End Dragon fight, because it requires a different level of skill. It makes it faster, but it's using the game mechanics. That's not even considered glitched, because it is a intended mechanic. Minecraft, I think, has done a very good job, for the most part, of allowing that people are going to use it in unintended ways and embracing it's not a bug, it's a feature mindset.
Spawn, which sounds useless at first glance, but it is actually quite
I have issues
handy,
with
since
Nintendo
we can
in
destroy
particular with
block
this.
by other means, which eventually makes it possible for the mushroom to spawn later. And that's not even all. Take the bullet bill with a mushroom that we just created. We can now take this bullet bill and spawn block it, or put it into a Lakitu cloud to create a mushroom puking.
Am I
flying
reacting
bullet
to
bill,
anything?
Or put it onto a conveyor
I
belt.
mean, I was mostly on a rant, particularly following talking about Nintendo glitch policy, moving that over to a specific Ocarina of Time speedrun. Oh, all dungeon speedrun. This is not the one I meant to click. This is a 7-hour speedrun. 6 hours something. I wonder what the record is. But I moved on to different rants. But I was reacting to this. What people don't understand what it should call you. He, she, they, fridge. I don't. Honestly, if you call me by regular gender specifiers, I'm not going to be weird by it. Pretty sure that I have the pronouns that I prefer in tags, so I don't know why it'd be confusing. I don't believe that that's a standard modifier, and I think that you're trying to make fun of me. Took too long, fridge. Hey, light. Casually fuck yourself. Like, I don't know what you're trying to accomplish with that. What would you like? This one is for you, so you're going to need to choose your own pronoun there. Light. You're a very dumbass, fridge. Not cool at all. Did that do it for you? We all happy? Uh-huh. Does it make you feel happy? Does it make your world better being upsetty about it? I don't think I will. You're cute. I like pets. Sometimes, like, don't want to accidentally click on the skin. Nah, you're fine. We like pointing at the monkeys. Am I autistic or what? Probably. Never been diagnosed. Not really concerned about it. I've never considered myself that, but it's I'm not sure if you mean that as an insult. It's kind of funny if you do. You're very cute. You're very charming in your 10-year-old anger. So, you know, hey, don't mess with the chat. Ban you, simple. I don't feel like it. I'm going to go back to reacting.
To have it move around or copy it 10 times while on conveyor belts to create a moving train, and so on. The original Super Mario Maker doesn't feature that many different elements, but what it lacks in variety, it sure makes up by allowing us to remix and match all those elements together in many surprising ways. This is the biggest strength of the
Cole
original
can't
Mario
ban
Maker's
you.
level editor. Because of this interactability, the level
Why
editor
would we
doesn't
give you what
feel
you
like
want?
a level editor at all, but more like an experimental playground in which we can mix and match all the different elements to create new and surprising ways to play. And this is where the early trailer comes back into the picture again. You see, this trailer was released roughly a year before the game's original release.
It's
A year
crazy
of
that they
development
released the
isn't
trailer
that
a full
much
year
time.
before.
And yet the very first scenes of Mario Maker that the public ever got to see, scenes that were shown roughly a year before the game released, show a complete
And that it's just
lack
so
of the
different
very
from the
thing that,
actual-
in my opinion, is the very essence of Mario Maker. There are no big enemies, meaning that they probably haven't come up with dragging mushrooms onto enemies yet, and the very fact that there is a mushroom in a question block shown means that they probably haven't even come up with the idea of being able to drag enemies and items into question blocks at the time of the trailer.
I love that she came in here, just wondering what I was reacting to, and like gave the follow and all this stuff, and then realized that I had they them pronouns and just like went off the deep end, like just completely got triggered by that single fact and started looking for a ban. Like, who does that? How bored do you have to be?
A year before release, the shown build of Mario Maker was
You didn't define your pronouns, so I just assumed. Sorry about that.
lacking central elements that actually make Mario Maker so remarkable in the first place. This trailer always had me wonder if the many interactions between the elements in Mario Maker were actually planned from the beginning, or if they were just the result of a happy accident that happened late in development. But whatever the case, this is the very first aspect of the original Mario Maker that I'd like to highlight. The many different interactions between the elements that really elevate the level.
What's the pronoun for a Tesco attack trolley? Out of curiosity? Like, I don't believe you, but like, first of all, thanks for your 10-year-old joke. And I don't mean like jokes from 10-year-olds. I mean like a joke that's been tired for about 10 years. Also just doesn't make sense. Interestingly, do you know that the usage of the singular you is much more recent than the usage of the singular they? Saying you is more grammatically incorrect than saying they for a single person. Don't give a fuck about usage of words? You sure seem to, based on how triggered you are by it. Kind of goofy.
Editor. Hooray! So what is the second thing? From our, apparently, still ongoing series, what is the most complicated way to trigger a P-switch? I proudly present to you
Oh,
the
Nightbot can't
Anniversary
ban you.
Edition.
It'll just delete your messages. What the hell is this contraption? Oh, just a chain of... Oh, and it pushes the Koopa, and then Koopa makes the shell go, and then
Alright.
Mario's...
So how did this work? Well, it is honestly, actually, surprisingly simply. This entire contraption starts to work as soon as Mario grabs a mushroom. The reason the mushroom activates the machine is super trivial. There are exactly 99 mushrooms hidden on top.
I mean, you're always welcome to do stuff that's going to get you sight bans. That's always interesting. Hey, Cole, sorry about that.
This mushroom here is the 100th, meaning that as long as this mushroom is on screen, the pipe on top can't spawn a new one because the entity limit C is full. Once collected, however, there is room in the ELC and this mushroom can spawn. This mushroom then hits a node block containing a muncher. The muncher drops down, booming a bob omp along the way and activating a node block containing a shell. The boom did get rid of this block, dropping down this bullet bill, which in turn booms this bob omp, which drops this cannon onto a node block, which makes it jump upwards. The shell respawned early.
Easier just to give them a couple of timeouts. That way they don't get to chat, but they don't get what they want.
Now drives on top of this firing elevator and
decide for it to go for 10 minutes. See if they're dedicated to come back in with hate 10 minutes from now.
So that this shell can travel upwards and trigger those question blocks, which
mostly because like they're being a toxic asshole, but also I think that their toxicity is, I think that it's worth making fun of assholes like this that just like obviously have never had actual thoughts enter their brains. I think that to a certain degree, throwing that ban, like I wasn't going to let them invite a bunch of friends and do all sorts of stuff. Careful sticking your neck out, Cole. I appreciate you. I don't want you to get hate. I'm capable of dealing with their bullshittery, but I don't want to see other people caught up in it. But also from a principled stand, when people are in here to cause distress, I don't see... You don't need to understand why a person who clearly wishes you unwell wants something to not give it to them. It is enough just to not give it to them.
In the process, booms another poor waddling bomb and drops this blaster onto a conveyor belt. The blaster now picks up this slightly confused Koopa until it reaches this clown car. Here, the Koopa drops through the clown car to its own surprise, only to be pushed onto a node block by a conveyor belt soon after. The node block elevates the Koopa up to the next layer, where it activates a shell that drops...
This is why, though, I was mentioning earlier that you do need to be a little bit... This is why you need to be strict with how you cultivate your stream. That you don't allow people to just do as they wish. I'm sorry for the distress they caused you, Cole. People gonna be assholes.
Dropping down a spring, which lifts this bullet bill, once again destroying a poor bomb. This explosion, however, also destroys this block, dropping down this muncher, and hooray! A P-switch was triggered, trapping Mario for eternity. For 480 seconds. So while we're taking a look at this entirely useless contraption, I hear you ask, well, first, because it is fun, obviously. But second, because this little contraption actually shows something really remarkable about the very nature of the first Super Mario Maker. You see, this entire machine here is a ridiculously complex way to perform a trivial task. And it is this
honestly, if I didn't run on spite as much as I do, I'd be much more... I probably should have just insta-banned them for being a bigot, but... I run on spite enough that I just like, I don't know, if someone is trying to get banned because that is what they think is fun, I would rather have them waste their time trying to get a rise out of me than actually go somewhere where they were actually going to hurt people. To be fair, me being spiteful back to them like this is a good way to make them just angry, and they'll probably take it out on someone. So I should probably curb that instinct. But yeah, being uncomfortable by it. I would recommend, Cole, if you are uncomfortable by someone in here and I am not, they are making you upset, and I clearly also think that they are a waste of human consciousness, that they could be doing better things with their life. Step out earlier and don't announce that it makes you uncomfortable, because in this world, unfortunately, that makes you an easier target, and they will, in ways that they were upset because they couldn't get a rise out of me, and whether or not they come back in 10 minutes to continue running the sludge that is their mouth at me, I can take that, and I'm willing to engage in ways that at a certain point it's just better for me to just pretend like I don't see them and just delete all of their messages as they come until they get bored and leave. But don't put yourself into a place where you are uncomfortable, because that is not healthy for your mindset. But also don't paint a target on yourself. It's okay to tell them that you think that their mindset is medieval and backwards and, basically all things I've said, although I am taking that risk as a streamer, and I don't like anybody else seeing that, taking that risk on my behalf. It can result in all sorts of hate and doxing and bad things, but just watch out for yourself first, yeah?
Complexity that I find really interesting, because no single action of the contraption is necessarily complex to begin with. All the interactions that lead to this overly complicated outcome are actually simple on the surface. It's stuff like, if a spring hits a shell, it launches it. If a shell hits a question block, it triggers it. If a bullet bill is on top of a question block, when it is triggered, it gets lifted in the air. If a bob-omb is crushed, it immediately explodes. If a bob-omb explodes, it destroys blocks around it. If something stands on a block that is destroyed, it drops down, and so on. All of those little interactions are incredibly simple on the surface, and yet if we combine all those simple interactions, we can come up with a ridiculously complicated contraption. The complexity that makes this machine possible is a result of many little simple interactions, and that's the second aspect that I really want to highlight about the original Super Mario Maker. The original Super Mario Maker allows for incredibly complex systems to be created in it. Over the years, we created turn-based systems and combination locks in it, or logic gates. We found dozens of ways to murder Mario depending on his behavior, and build working calculators. It is possible to build...
Honestly, I should ban more quickly, just because also it takes me out of it. Like, I was having fun and now I'm just kind of annoyed.
Incredibly complex systems in Super Mario Maker, but all those systems at their core are still built upon incredibly
need to work on not being such a spiteful person,
like that
because I was enjoying this video and my rants about
content, if
Nintendo and everything.
The original Super Mario Maker, it is simplicity that leads to complexity. Everything in the game is easy to grasp, and yet it can be combined to do really astonishing things, which is the second thing about the original Super Mario Maker that we're going to highlight today. Super Mario Maker achieves complexity by simplicity, another thing that made the original Mario Maker so special, at least in my humble opinion, which already brings us to the third aspect of the game that we're going to highlight. So that one is a bit of a weird one. I honestly struggle a bit on how to best to communicate what I mean here. You see, the thing is, levels in the original Mario Maker had more of a physical presence than the levels in other level creators have. Mario Maker's levels had more of an actual entity-ness outside of the game. But it's probably easier to explain to you why I believe this to be the case than to explain what I mean in the first place, so let's go back to the start here. There are two main things that I believe were causing original Mario Maker levels to feel more like entities that exist outside the game world. Luckily, both were super simple to explain. The first one is that it was possible to download stages in Super Mario Maker and to check them out in the editor. They removed this feature in Mario Maker 2, likely because it happened every once in a while that someone used the download feature to steal a popular level of another creator and to upload it as their own, but at least in my opinion that was a mistake, because the mere fact that people were able to download levels gave the levels a certain sense of existence. People were able to download difficult queso stages and to practice them in the editor, adding an additional layer to all the difficult queso stages. People were able to download interesting contraption levels and to study them to understand how they work, adding another potential dimension of teaching to the levels. And finally, people were able to download levels they really liked, to save them and to maybe remix those stages into something new, which further added to the feeling that the stage is more than just a level code that points to some place on Nintendo's servers. The second thing, well, that is quite obviously the bookmarking site. The original Super Mario Maker featured an online bookmarking site, which featured every level ever uploaded to Super Mario Maker servers and allowed users to easily share the levels over the web. This little innocently looking bookmarking page did a ton of work for the game. First, it obviously made it easy to share stages on places like Reddit or Discord, which is an obvious plus for obviously obvious reasons, but second, and equally important, it also created a place in which Mario Maker levels existed outside of the game, and this really added to the entire...
Such a crazy thing that they did that they made a space outside of the game where you could share levels and stuff.
Our experience.
Once again, a problem that they just unceremoniously dumped it,
or whatever you want to call it, that just added weight to the stage. An original Mario Maker level was something that was not entirely restricted to only existing within the rule set of the game. You know, every stage was displayed there with its clear rate and information, how many people played it, alongside a nice little thumbnail. The site showed a level overview alongside the me face and the nationality of the creator. It was a place in which the stages existed outside of the game that made it possible to interact with the game in unique ways. If I was waiting for the bus, I was able to pull out the bookmarking page and to look at how many likes my stage had gotten while waiting. Heck, it even was possible to read the comments that people left on the stage there, adding a small layer of a social media platform to Mario Maker. If we were bored while away from the game, it was possible to browse the site for interesting levels to play once we got back home. And if we were out with friends chatting about the game, the site made it possible to pull out a phone and to show our friend an overview over the level we were waffling about. The bookmarking page broke the confinement of levels to only exist within the game. It really added to the feeling of a level existing as an entity. This combined with the lack of an option to download levels by other creators just made stages in Mario Maker 2 feel more like, well, like a series of letters that have to be entered in Mario Maker to load something that doesn't really exist outside of the game. And yeah, this feeling of weight and of levels really existing is something that the original Mario Maker really excelled at. Something that the sequel lost to some degree in my opinion. This is the third aspect of the original Mario Maker that we're highlighting today. Hooray! Which already brings us to...
I love it.
Let's take a look at this little stage here. Hero Plumber finds himself
Gaming.
in a rather
I always
unusual
misspell
castle
name,
that
though.
Bowser built to murder him. At first glance, everything seems quite peaceful here. There's a P-switch which Mario can...
I love, like, I'm almost certain that all of these contraptions, all of these levels, save built just for the videos, and the fact that he puts in this effort just to showcase stuff, and they're actually kind of cool micro levels, it's just very cool. Oh. One second. Going to just into my room just for a second. I need to check something. Interesting. Yo, Ty. Welcome in, welcome in. I'm running a little bit long. How you doing? I was just Terror Raid reacting to some oh, that's not where I meant to. There we go. Civ Gaming videos. I'm doing pretty good. Big chillin', as said, watching some videos, streaming a little bit later than intended. Honestly, I should be careful because I have some stuff to be doing, but also, well, you know how it gets. Let me give you a shout out. Just scanning something real quick. Good, good, good. Interesting choice there, Cole. Let's see if I remember which one it is. Hey, there it is. And you're very welcome for the shout out. But yeah. Right now, looking at Civ Gaming, we've been talking about the state of gaming a lot for the recent bit. If you'd been just a little bit later, you could have caught me planning to rate out myself, although I do want to finish this video because I think that Civ talking about the state of Mario Maker and specifically forecasting onto Mario Maker 3 is very interesting. Raiders, welcome. Make sure that take care of yourself. Ty, this goes for you double. That you get some food, drink, get a big stand and stretch. Vest Off along with Gunshot is one of your favorite redeems. I mean, Vest Off is a good redeem. I dig it. Here, I'll give you the free, that one with it. But, I do a bit of Minecraft, mostly on Mondays, run my own server. Pseudo welcome to people, though you do need to be in chat enough that I can get the vibe check. We been playing a lot of Limbus lately. Do some other random gaming, a lot of retro gaming, occasional karaoke, though I haven't done that for a hot second. I have a viola, which I keep threatening to play and then just not doing because reasons. But you know how it is. All the things. Ugh. Anyway, we'll continue watching video. Wanted to check. Very good.
Reach to his left.
By the way, at least as far as I can tell, the user who was being trolled a little while ago, when I didn't take the bait and just said to go sit in a corner, decided to F off and do something else because I was no longer fun for them. And that's part of why I didn't ban him. I might go back and ban him now that it's not a moral victory to not. Oh, we got a fucking... I mean, honestly, just bigot in chat a little while ago. Who was first... They followed, and then they're like, wait a second, you have they, them pronouns in your tags. Does that mean that you're an attack helicopter? Ha ha ha, I'm so funny. Tried to fish for a ban, and I'm like, nah, take 10 minutes in a corner, think about what you did. Gave them those warnings that they had to acknowledge that they were being an asshole if they wanted to chat again. And I'm pretty sure that they blocked me or did some stuff. So I get the victory of not playing the game in their rules and also just telling them that they're an asshole. It's something that I dealt with earlier. It was making Cole uncomfortable, but honestly, people who... I don't understand internet trolls, honestly. There are people who... I don't want anybody dead. I just think that some people aren't worth the oxygen. Also, I'm spiteful, and I should probably avoid that because I'm sure that my spitefulness creates worse situations for other people and or puts me in more danger than I need to, but they seek attention and reactions. It's true. No, they're totally attention seeking, and I think that it drives them crazy when I acknowledge them but don't give the attention that they're looking for. You're right that it's best to ban them. I do also say, and I defended it earlier, I'd rather that they were pointing their daggers at me than somebody actually vulnerable. I am in a very secure situation where I'm both very safe and have a thick skin, and them attacking me is better than them harassing someone who's actually going to be bothered by it, but also exposing the community to it is not worth it. So it's kind of gotta do it a little bit point by point. Mostly I just pointed out that all of their attacks came from 2010 and that they sounded about like a 10-year-old, and they didn't take kindly to that.
And a couple of lethally burning lava
They also
balls,
wanted to be called a fridge,
in the life of a plumber.
which I
But,
said, I mean,
well, no.
okay,
What is
but
this?
you're not
The
very
exit
cool.
of the stage is magically locked. It looks as if Mario has to explore into another direction first. Luckily for him, the previously locked room at the beginning suddenly magically opened up, allowing him to reach the P-switch. Our plumber decides to trigger it. After all, nothing bad has ever happened because a P-switch got triggered. And would you look at this? All of a sudden, the floor exploded. Concerning. To make matters even worse, a gigantic bullet bill now blocks the path forward.
So that's pretty hard with the ban. For real, why can't people just be respectful? Honestly, I don't even get it. People are dumbasses. I think that I think a lot of it... What's funny is that they followed me first, and then I think they only noticed the they-them tag after the fact, and then they decided to be triggered by it. But I think that people have this... It's the lash out desire, right? That they feel that they're not getting the attention and they want somebody to be their lolcow or whatever. They want to make someone else have a worse day because they think that that's fun, something. It makes them feel powerful in ways that they're not powerful in other aspects of life. And or good old just being raised in an environment that rewards it. Yeah, I don't get with people. But whatever, I guess.
Dodged the lethal lava bubble until it finally sank below the lava current. Luckily, however, the sudden ground explosion...
I think that Ty honestly is right that they're not worth engaging with. That the best thing that you can do is just ban them and move on. Although, I gave them a 10-minute timeout, and I gave a warning that, you can give warnings to chat these days, which basically means that people have to agree to follow rules that you point out they disobeyed to be welcome back to Talk and Chat. And they left because they realized I wasn't playing the game and got bored. And more or less what I'm going for. And if they come back, because I'm thinking someday they're going to be spiteful enough to do it, better to just... And I probably should ban them more for the safety of my community than anything that I'm worried about. I don't want to expose you guys to it.
The other bullet bill that was blocking the exit, allowing Mario to finally drop the huge axe of his desire and to escape. Hooray! So how did this little level work? Well, it's actually incredibly simple. The bullet bill here disappears because the first time we load it, there's an invisible question block activated below it. In Mario Maker 2, this would have destroyed the bullet bill, but in the original, it doesn't, meaning this bullet bill is now on a spot with a question block, which means it can't load in again, which is how we got rid of it the second time we entered this area. The bullet bill that suddenly appears uses the same idea, just in reverse. The first time that we enter this
Mario
area,
Maker,
it is unblocked by the blocks on the ground. Those are gone the second time, however,
contraptions,
since the bob arms on the ground
so
exploded.
complicated,
And how did we explode
unnecessarily.
those little guys? Well, by using a really interesting mechanic that I'm personally quite fond of for reasons that we'll talk about in a moment. You see, bob arms get ignited as soon as they come in contact with any fire source in the game. And as it turns out, this is also true for the lava ground in the castle stage. As soon as a bob arm touches the exceptionally hot liquid on the ground, it goes boom. Since the waddling boom bots are standing on brick blocks here, this is the case as soon as a P-switch is triggered. P-switches famously turn brick blocks into shiny yet deadly coins, dropping the bob arms into the lava and destroying the floor. Awesome. So why are we waffling about the fact that bob arms get ignited whenever they come in contact with any fire source in the game? I hear you ask. Well, here's the thing. As it turns
Any
out,
fire
I still
source means
remember
any
the
fire
exact
source.
moment when I fell in love.
And honestly, the amount of extra coding that they had to put into to make that possible is kind of crazy.
With the original Super Mario Maker. It was a couple of weeks after release and I was tinkering around with ideas for puzzle stages when all of a sudden I made a discovery that back in the day felt revolutionary to me. All of a sudden I realized that bob arms could be ignited by literally every source of fire in the game. Back in the day, this realization really blew me away, because there are a lot more fire sources in the game than one would expect. It was this very idea that I ended up building my puzzle stage around. So the level is sadly no longer online because no
because
level is,
Nintendo.
but the general idea was the following. Yoshi is actually able to swallow fire and to puke it back out at socially opportune moments later.
Socially
again.
opportune.
Those fireballs that Yoshi
I love
pukes
Cave's just
are a
very
fire source, meaning that they are capable
understated
of igniting bob
humor
arms as well. That was the central idea for the puzzles, and thus the level was an increasingly escalating gauntlet of rooms that first taught the players this mechanic by trapping them in a room with nothing but a fire source and a bob arm, and later required them to realize that Yoshi can also eat fire by swallowing a burning burner or even a fire bar, until in the end they had to guide a fireball through several sub-worlds to a final puzzle. It was a fun stage entirely built out of the idea that, say it with me, bob arms can be ignited by every fire source in the game. But this stage is not
and
the
that
only
Yoshi
thing
can
that
eat
came out of
fire
this
from any
unbelievable
source.
discovery, because this shocking revelation actually made me so excited that it made me order a capture card and record my very first YouTube video, because I just had to share the news with the rest of the world.
You can ignite bob arms with literally any fire source within the game.
Mhm.
And yes, I know, I already said this, but there are some that aren't that obvious, and I thought I'd show them to you. For example, you can ignite bob arms if you want
Early
to
save. We love it.
Peak YouTube right there. It's only been downhill for me from that peak onwards. So it might be funny to look at this 10 years later. Nowadays we take mechanics like this just as granted. But back in the day, that was actually a really interesting discovery. A discovery that made me fall in love with the game. And that's the fourth and final aspect out of our 5 aspects that I want to highlight about the original Mario Maker. Because here's the thing. Level creation in itself is not a very enjoyable task. It is a lot of back and forth and endless
True,
testing,
or
and
at least
takes
it
forever
shouldn't be.
to create a nice looking stage that other people actually experience as fun to play. If Super Mario Maker were just a tool to create levels in, it would never have taken off as it has. After all,
Mario
there
Maker's
have been tons of
just
fan-made
incredible,
Mario
the
level
fact that
creators before
how many
Mario
people have
Maker
put
ever hit the
levels
shelves,
out
but
there.
none of them made it even close to the mainstream. And it's not only true for the Mario franchise, by the way. There really aren't many level creators out there that ever got massively popular. Mario Maker really is one of very few level generation games that really sold a lot of copies. Which kind of raises a question, doesn't it? Why is level creation so enjoyable in Mario Maker when level creation itself doesn't seem to be a massively popular genre? And this is where a couple of things pop up again that we discussed so far.
Also,
I believe it is mainly because the level
using this mole contraption to frickin' make a platform for a survival section is legitimately crazy. I love this simple contraption for a survival area.
creation in Mario Maker is driven by discovery, and these discoveries in itself are incredibly enjoyable. The thing that makes creating levels in Mario Maker so fun is the fact that all the elements interact in such unique and often surprising ways that allow us to discover mechanics for ourselves. It is the feeling of discovery that makes the level creation enjoyable. The many different interactions between the elements and the fact that all of the complexity is the result of very simple rules leads to a system in which it is just permanently possible to discover new tricks and new ideas. And that is the fourth and final aspect of the original Mario Maker that we're going to highlight today. That its level creation is not enjoyable because it has so many options, but that the level creation is so enjoyable because there is so much to discover. Those discoveries are what made me fall in love with the game in the first place. Awesome. And with this, we already reached the end of our little list. It's finally time for the big plot twist. So please ensure that
Such
you're
a big
currently
plot
well seated.
twist.
And if not, you might want to grab something stable fast, because the next revelation is surely going to knock you off your feet otherwise. You see, as a matter of fact, I lied to you. You were tricked by evil clickbait.
No.
Because as a matter of fact, this video is not only a nostalgic look back at the original Super Mario Maker. Oh no. As a matter of fact, this video is something much darker. Because in truth, this video is actually a wish list for core design principles that I wish for Super Mario Maker to heavily lean into. 4 design lessons learned by the original Mario Maker that I wish to see more of in Mario Maker 3. So let's drop the act and let's reveal the true nature of this silly little video. Very cinematic. So the 4 design principles that I hope Mario Maker 3 learns from the original game are maximal interactions between elements, complexity through simplicity, stages that exist as entities beyond the game, and fourth and finally, discovery as the main form of play in level creation. Those 4 things are things that I feel the original Mario Maker did to varying degrees better
recently gotten
than its
rid of that a
sequel.
lot of the
And those
time?
4 things are things that I hope Nintendo embraces more within the core design of the
Like,
next
why can't I
iteration
change
of
this?
Mario Maker. Awesome.
Whatever, dude.
So anything left to say? Well, yes, obviously. We still have to talk about the 5th and final aspect of the original Mario Maker. What is this all about? Well, that one is all about endings.
Goddamn right.
Nintendo wasn't very kind to the original Super Mario Maker.
Put
And I
gently.
really feel that this needs to be mentioned in a look back at the original game. In 2021, Nintendo disabled the option to upload new levels entirely. Less than 6 years after the original release of the game, the backbone of the service was already shut down, and Nintendo even stopped selling the game online. Even worse, in 2024, Nintendo shut down the servers for good, meaning that all the millions of levels that the community created over the years are now no longer accessible. They didn't preserve the stages in any way. They didn't port them over to Mario Maker 2. They just pulled the plug and erased an entire part of gaming and internet culture history.
So much lost
Only
media.
9 years after release,
Intentionally
there was
done.
no Mario Maker around anymore. And alongside this shutdown, they also took down the bookmarking page, erasing even the last memories of all the stages in the game and the millions of comments that people wrote and the many stories that community had to tell. So first, that's obviously way too soon. It should still be possible to play and to upload levels in the original game.
Seriously.
And it should be so for many years to come.
10
Turning off an
years to
entire
make it
online
completely
game that
impossible
soon
to
after
play?
release as a company like Nintendo is just... it's a decision. So since this video
It's
is
a
all about what I
decision.
hope that Nintendo learns from the original Mario Maker going
Also
forward,
crazy
here's the fifth and final thing.
challenge
I really hope
speedrun
that
there.
Nintendo conserves the wonderful levels that people uploaded in Mario Maker 2 this time, and that the servers remain active and alive for decades to come. Hooray. So, are we really going to end this video on such a downer? Are we really ending this video with Mario Maker's way too early death?
I do
no,
like that
because
they
as it
made it so
turns
you can
out,
move
there is a
subtitles
secret
around.
sixth and final aspect of the original Super Mario Maker that has been hiding from us all along. I know, lots of plot twists today. How exciting. So what is this sixth and final secret aspect of the original Mario Maker? Well, it is the one thing that I'm certain the next iteration of Mario Maker will share with the original game. It is Mario Maker's unbelievably great community. Because when Nintendo was firmly determined to kill their
Always
own
good to
game
do a little bit of
unceremoniously
glazing of
and
the
for
people
good,
watching the video.
community actually begged to differ and plotted to give Mario Maker the farewell it truly deserved. You see, when the ability to upload courses was disabled, a group of incredibly dedicated people in the community quickly formed. A group now known as Team 0%. The goal of Team 0%, well, to clear every single stage that was ever uploaded to Super Mario Maker at least once. And thus, they started playing. In October of 2023, Nintendo announced that they would close the servers for good in a couple of months, meaning that beating every single stage at least once all of a sudden became a race against time. At that time, there were still roughly 25,000 courses online that no one had ever beaten. A month before the shutdown, this number was down to roughly 200. On April 5th, 2024, Mario Maker
Team
user
0% 's crazy.
91 SMM2 actually did the impossible.
And the fact that a lot of the levels were just little Timmy levels, just basic, people would call them hot Garbo levels, but not hard to beat. And so, like, there were the very hard levels that only the most dedicated precision gamers were trying to beat, and basically were on bounty effectively. And then there were a bunch that, like, a lot of the community came together who were just casuals, and they're like, yeah, I'll be on Team 0%, and they wiped out a bunch of the otherwise relatively easy trash.
Cleared the last remaining stage called the Last Dance, only 3 days before the server.
Also, the fact that he cleared trimming the herbs, which was an task level, like, there had been a previous level that was the last legitimate level to be uploaded, but there was this one task level, and when they cleared it, we knew that, like, we'd found out that clearing the herbs was a task level, and we're like, oh, that doesn't count, that's stupid, we don't want to, like, it sucks that it's going to be the one that's uncleared because it's not human viable. And a human freaking said, screw it, like, hold my beer. I am going to beat a level that previously had only been uploaded via a computer playing it. Crazy nonsense.
Finally shut down. The community actually managed to clear the very last level, meaning that any level that ever got uploaded by any person onto Mario Maker servers got beaten at least once. So I'm a bit sad that Mario Maker servers
and
aren't
then they
online
actually
anymore,
deleted it.
But I also have to say that I do not think that there is any cooler way to go for a game than with the entire community up in arms, tightly racing against time, trying to achieve an idea that was originally
fighting
born
against
because so many
Nintendo,
level
we
creators
should
uploaded
say.
their stages, but no one ever bothered to beat them. A tight race that ends with the community succeeding only days before the shutdown. I don't think that any online game ever got shut down in a more epic way. And even though it is sad that Mario Maker is no longer online, whenever I think about how sad it is, I also have to smile about the fact that we know with certainty that every level that ever got uploaded got at least beaten once. Hooray! So here we have it. I look forward back at the original Mario Maker. Before we wrap this silly little video up, just two more things. So first, a gigantic thank you to all my incredible patrons.
Here's the video
whose names
again.
Are currently
Go
flipping by. Those wonderful
give it a
people
watch.
not only regularly get access to small
follow
bonus
Sea of
content and
Gaming.
little additional
He doesn't
scripts,
upload
but
super
their
often
generous
these days,
support
but he's
is also the
so
fuel
good.
That is fueling videos like this one, which is probably best described as me struggling to grasp the concept of a numbered list. A huge thank you to them for that. Second, well, as some of you might have have already noticed, this little video is actually not the second half of the video about whether Bonanza can be beaten goldless that I teased last time. Oh dear, what had happened here? Well, as it turns out, we weren't the only ones digging through Bonanza's dangerous golden depths, because a wonderful gaming champ, fittingly named GameChamp 3000, has also been tackling the very same challenge. A wonderful channel that I can wholeheartedly recommend
I also love
to
that
every single one of you if you enjoy
gives
challenge
these
runs
big
in
credits
games.
to other
So I don't know
random
exactly when
creators.
his Bonanza Goldless video will be out, but I figured it doesn't make much sense for me and for him to release what is essentially the same video, potentially on the same day, and thus I decided to put the Bonanza challenge video back into the oven for a bit. I'll be cooking on it for a bit longer, and I'm going to see if there are any new groundbreaking discoveries by the community within the next couple of weeks before returning to the idea. Awesome. So thank you so much for watching this little video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to leave me a thumbs up and
He did the previous video of his was talking about, where is it? I guess the previous. Let's talk about Mario Maker 3.
almost exactly 10 years
Basically
ago.
talked about some of the features that were in Mario Maker that got removed. And he had a bit of a drop with Mario Maker 2 because he likes building courses and he finds it worse in Mario Maker 2. And part of that is that Mario Maker 2 doesn't use stylus controls. And so a lot of things are more clunky. The fact that Mario Maker, the Switch 2, is going to have the controller being able to be used as a mouse is going to make it potentially like, that's even better than a stylus for drag and dropping elements. So I don't know. I'm hoping that Mario Maker, for Mario Maker 3, which I cannot imagine Nintendo not making unless they've just decided that it's too popular and the servers are too expensive to keep up or some crazy nonsense like that. Mario Maker 3 has to be being made. And with that in mind, I'm really hoping that Nintendo is looking and trying to take... They made Mario Maker 1, they iterated on that, made Mario Maker 2. A lot of stuff in Mario Maker 2 was groundbreaking. They did a lot of good changes. They did some less good changes. I hope that they now hear the feedback and they iterate on that and they bring back the best parts of Mario Maker 1, which were taken out of 2, include the things in 2 that were popular, and maybe we iterate further to go even further beyond. Let's go. There's other videos that I was
You don't need turtle legs.
curious about. Why are we making a gold farm in a speedrun tournament? But like, no, I'm not doing another 20-minute video. It's time that I need my own dinner and stuff. Let's... By the way, Troll never came back. Just takes a 10-minute timeout. Could play my usual end song, but I freaking love God damn it, it's one of my favorite songs. Why am I Rot for Clout? I had to check my own tag. But we're gonna raid out. I don't know where we're going to go per se. Somewhere fun maybe. Scroll, see any suggested channels. Not jumping out at me. That line just stepping in. All right, let's check following channels. Who's up? Ooh. Birthday stream of Anna. Let's go. We love supporting Anna. Also known as How Cupid, also known as Sister for Days. Don't call her that. We're gonna get right into How Cupid. She's a great friend, cool person who I don't engage with nearly as much as I'd like to. Go follow, watch her, give her a like. At least stick around for the raid. It makes me look cool and it makes you look cool. I'll be back on Monday for Minecraft Monday, and that might be the last stream for a minute because I, on Tuesday, am flying back to the States for a visit. So I will be out for a bit. But you guys are amazing. We love you. And I'll catch you later. Night night.
Lemon, lime, soda, skies, lucky like a four-leaf clover. Strawberry, slice of life, singing with a sip of nectar. Sweet like honey on a summer day, I'll stick with you through the wind and the rain.